making sure. Play Minecraft. There. That there. Yellow. Yellow, 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 yellow. IVL, Caitlin. Hi, Caitlin. What's up?
Caitlin not just subscribe.
Hi, Caitlin. Hi, Caitlin. Hi, Caitlin. Yo, chat. What's up, everyone? Good morning. Hello. Hi. Actually, it's already 12:17. What's up? Hi. What's up, Mega Look? What's up, VO? What's up, Ellie? Oh my God, everyone's here. What's up, everyone? Hi. What's up, Joker? Guys, by the way, low key, if I somehow hit 300 subs again today, if we like somehow manage to get 40 subs, I will turn my camera on for one game of UHC or Battle Royale. Thoughts? Thoughts? Fuck it. I told myself, I was thinking, you know what? If I somehow get 300 subs today, I'll turn my camera on. Yo, Queen, thanks to 12 months.
Queen
1 year.
Just
Yo.
Subscribed. 12 months of this chaos.
Holy.
OMG.
Yo, W, thank you for the sub. Appreciate it. Yeah, chat. What's up, Will? What's up? Okay, let me say hi to everyone before I start the stream. Hi, VO. Hi, Ellie. Hi, Megalux. Hi, Queen. Hi, Pain Train. Hi, Joker. Yo, I will eat your potatoes. What's up? VO, hi. Queen, hi. Ellie, hi. I already said hi to you. Wither, hi. What's up? Weppy, what's up? Sailor. I swear I said these names like 3 times already. Hi. Yo, Atlo, what's up? Hi. Welcome. Yeah. Hi. What's up? Okay. Why did I just get okay? Anyways, yeah, we're playing Minecraft. We're starting off Battle Royale. We love Battle Royale. Hi, Venu. Good morning. Hi, Venu. Hi, Venu. Hi, Venu. Hi, Venu. How are you, Queen? Okay. Let's get in the game, chat. Let's get in game. Get in game time. I played a little bit. Let me put this right here. There we go. I played a little bit. I played a lot of teams today and yesterday and today morning, you know, because I haven't been sleeping. Anyways, what's up, Mitch? How are you, Mitch? Wait, Mitch, how are you been? How have you been? Yes, hello to you for the 3rd time as well. Sorry, I forget how many times to hi in one day. Forgive me. Wait, why am I asking for forgiveness? I was saying hi. Oh my God, bro, what's wrong with me? Hi, chat. Good morning. How's school? How's it live, chat? How's life? Was that a spawner right there? What is that? I don't know. Oh, dude, chat. I was actually gonna tell you guys, right? As long so I'm gonna try to set myself up for like a challenge kind of deal. So for the next 30 days, for every stream I don't stream, can you guys hold me accountable for gifting 1 sub per day I miss? And then, you know, for 30 days, and you know, if I miss like if I miss 29 days, well, then I have to give 29 subs, you know, the next time I stream, whatever. So yeah, just let me know if just tell me if I ever like miss a day or something. Keep me accountable. I want to be able to stream every time, every day. But like, I was like, you know what? The only way that I can do this is like by telling myself that I have to stream, you know? So why is there meat there? Anyways, you missed 47 days. Well, I'm not gifting 47 subs. That's just no. What is happening? What's up, Zycam? Welcome, everyone. Hi. What's up? Hi, everyone. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. I haven't slept yet. I'm resetting my sleep schedule again for the 5th time this year already. Kind of crazy, no? I don't know. Whatever. It's whatever. It's fine. It's fine. It's fine. As long as I am eating fine, right? Good. That's fun. Yeah. Very fun. I just can't wait. I just can't wait. I can't wait for my my doctor to be like, yo, Andres, you're not sleeping. W. Also, Also, I think there's a video coming soon. Video coming soon. Video coming soon. I don't know. I keep saying soon, but I still don't know when it's coming out. It's gonna be a second channel video. I haven't recorded a manhunt. I gotta record a manhunt soon too. Soon, TM. Caitlin, how have you been? Are you doing school already, Caitlin? How you been, Zyk? How's everyone been, chat? Everyone good today? You know what? I'm not gonna put my Twitch thing in chat because they're gonna get annoyed and I'm gonna freaking cry. But I MLG now? Any diamonds? Nope. Also, you know what I found out as well? Is, yo, I'm kind of crazy at rushing 0-0 and getting kills. I hope I don't jinx that, by the way, because I might actually jinx that. A bit tired, but doing okay. Yeah. What is HOPLITE? It's a UHC server. I thought you would never ask. It's my favorite UHC server. It's been popping off recently, actually. There's been a lot of creators been playing it, and I don't know, I've been having fun. It's pretty cool. It brings back like old 2020 vibes when I used to play this game non-stop. Midterm, ew. Wait, like, please, actually pass school, please. Thanks. If you pass school, W, okay? You're addicted? Yeah, I've been addicted. I'm not gonna lie. I've been hella addicted. I've been playing solos. I've been playing teams. Yeah, it's bad. What's up, Rosso? Yeah, I don't know. It's just bad. It's okay. It's okay though. It's okay though. It's good addicting, you know? Oh fuck. Oh fuck. Okay. Just regular UHC? Yeah, pretty much. But there's like special crafts that you can make and stuff. So I've been like, you can craft like a bow that TPs you. You can craft like a sword. It's pretty much like custom crafts with, you know. You okay? It's better than I know, right, Sailor? Also, I added more. I keep saying also. I added more music to the playlist. Just FYI, guys. And I'll probably, honestly, I don't know when I will release the playlist, but it's not ready. It's not finished yet. It's not finished yet. I think I'll release it once I get like 100 songs on it. Wait, low key, if I release it now, it's like, it doesn't really matter, does it? Like, what are you guys gonna do? Like, hate on it? What's up, Sam? All right, Sam. This first one, you'll win? You think so? I mean, as long as like I get a diamond sword and I can go up with enchants, and yeah, I'm good. Tyrad, how much money for you to play a different game? 500 right now, and I'll switch any game you want me to. What's up, Jack? Also, custom world generation structure. Yeah, what Witherhide said. What this Witherhide guy, bro? What, are you this game, Witherhide? It's guy's too. Oh, Witherhide, bro. Look, do I need 2 more diamonds? I don't want to go up without sharp 2 diamond at least. When's the last time? I was 300 in Q. I really need to give away a rank, shouldn't I? I should definitely give away a rank. We'll see. We'll see if I can give away a rank. All right, Jack. Damn, this freaking Tyrad guy. Tyrad, shut you. Tyrizzle. Oh my god, Tyrad. Tyrad, shouldn't you be editing a video right now? Tyrad, shouldn't you be uploading right now? Don't make me come after you. Tyrad, how much money for you to start editing your own video, huh? Yeah, buddy. What's up with that, huh? This Tyrad guy, bro. This Tyrad boy. Very sleepy. Same. Very, very sleepy for me too. Yeah, chat. I don't know. I don't know. No diamonds. I got 2, but that's only enchants. And I don't know. 2 diamonds is mid. Wait, are these stats bad? Witherhide? Are these stats bad? Like, I swear, like, it's better than most people. Right? Surely it's better than most people. I swear I've seen like 200 games played, 3 wins on solos. It's like, okay, well, there's a problem there. Very bad looking float. Dude, no. I've seen floaters, bro. Dude, floaters is crazy though. Floaters is crazy. Dude, how did I don't know how floaters did it. Who's tired? I think everyone chat's tired. Chat, put a 1 in chat, or answer that poll in chat if you're tired. Hi, Jocelyn. I'm at the gym. Hell yeah, get those gains in, Jocelyn. Wait, what are you heading today, Jocelyn? Or are you what are you doing? What are you doing at the gym? Dude, I haven't been to the gym in like 3 weeks. But I think I'm just gonna get into kinesthetics, because I don't know. It looks way better than, not way better, but I don't know. Or I can just make a home gym at home, but that's pricey. Because I would have to get like a bench bar or bench seat. I had to get so much stuff. I'm biking. Ooh, okay. You know what you should do? What also helps with endurance / stamina / just speed in general as well. If you guys have the Stairmaster, do Stairmaster on 7 for, I don't know, just for however long you want. You'll trust me. It's you'll burn out. What's up, Antlo? I'm driving to work right now. Oh, wait, are you watching my stream and driving? Okay, Antlo. Grandpa, the doctor said you can't fit anymore. Bro, I don't have no hip replacement, bro. What's up, Nero? How are you, Nero? Diamonds above lava? Wait, what? Wait, you're trolling. But did I actually leave diamonds behind? No shot. Wait, no shot. I left diamonds behind. Wait, what? Are you trolling or are we being serious? What's up, Grenadier? Hello. I run as my main. Ooh, okay. Chat, what if we started a competition in chat and wait, left some in the lava. Wait, stop. Am I actually? Did I actually? Wait, where? Wait, what? Was it over here? Oh my god. Chat, where? No, I didn't. Liars. Base cam? Yeah. At 300 subs again. Yeah, I'll turn it off for 300 subs. What is that, 40 from now? Something like that? Chat, how many subs to 300? Is that like 54, 44? 44 subs for now? Yeah. Wait, where are the bro, am I stupid or something? Or did I just not get them? 30, wait, it's 34. Oh, wait, no, 36. Wait, chat, you guys are lying to me, bro. There's no diamonds here. Chat, there's literally 0 diamonds, bro. Okay, I got light too. I'm going up. I'm going up. If someone can find me a clip, I think I picked them up though, because that was a 3 vein and I had a 2 vein. Oh shit, you know what? Fuck, maybe you guys are right. Oh my god. It's fine. Wait, 2, 4. I won't even be able to make anything. It's fine. It's only 2. Okay. I'm only turning it on for 1 UHC, by the way, because I don't want to see you guys. Oh my god. Oh my god, oh my god. Yo, Antlo! Thank you for the 5 gifted subs. Appreciate you. Okay. Oh my god. Antlo!
Gifted 5 subs.
Thank you for the 5 gifted subs. Thank you so much. Appreciate you. Thank you. No, I deleted burger. It's a instead of it reading every single thing now, it's just it's CMP4. No, I love it. It's so cute. 300. What am I at? What am I at? Appreciate it for the 5 gifted. You're crazy. You're crazy. Bro. I made 2 shears, but that's fine. Apple here. Okay, 2 gaps. 31 more. W. 31 more subs until I can turn my face cam on. Nice. For 1 game though. Stop. It's only for 1 game. It's done easy. Will you smash Street Cure for $5? No. Like what? What in the question? Okay. Hi Kylie. Hi. Elle, I'm sorry. Are you a mobile moderator? No way. I know what I have to do, but I don't have the strength to do it. It's fine. If you can do it, it's fine. It's completely fine. How are you? Tired, sleepy, and tired. I think I said the same thing 3 times. I'm drinking coffee right now. I'm drinking iced coffee without the ice. It's really hot, but it means fine. It's like room temperature coffee. Ugh, it's fun. It's whatever. When we start vlogging, I want to see my grandpa duck. Never, Jack. I'm never gonna vlog. What? Jack, what do you... Jack, are you okay, Jack? What the hell do you mean, when am I gonna start vlogging? I've never owned a vlog camera in my life. Which, honestly, I should probably invest in, because I've heard for face cam streams, they're really crispy. So I don't know. Yeah, I'm really eepy. How are you though, Kylie? How are you? How are you? How are you? You know. Yeah, I gotta get this enchant real quick from this horse. Yep. Fatal, hello, Fatal, hi, Fatal, hello, Fatal, hello. I can't say your name. Why can't I say your name? Fatal. Fuck. Oh my god, I got like really paranoid there. I'm scared, bro. I'm scared. Oh, sharpness. But I need like 8 levels. Bet. Andres, what is your favorite coffee? Honestly, vanilla. Anything like vanilla flavor is pretty good. I'll be honest with you, I really can't stand pumpkin spice. I don't know. I don't know. Are you winning again? Sort of. Late tracks. I just started. It's my first game on, so sort of. Maybe. I don't know yet. We'll see. If I win this game, yes, I am winning. Give him like 2 seconds though. Bam. I just put another piece of prot. Okay, you know what? Okay, let's go. Let's go. That's not. Yeah, you see, I need to get a Sony camera. If Andres wins this game, then he wins. True. That's honestly factual statements. Wait, you're actually cooking right now, Caitlin. Caitlin, oh my god, I just realized you haven't been here like years. Jesus, Caitlin. I actually haven't been here like actual years. Actually, like probably like 4 months, but it's fine. Dude, I'm not gonna lie. I had a haircut appointment today at 9 in the morning. I kind of bailed on him. I said I wouldn't be able to make it because I was busy running errands, but I was fucking sleeping. Oh, fuck. He probably hates my guts now. This guy right here. Look, there's 2 people here. We got C4, bruh. C freaking 4. Oh, they're okay. Just ignore this guy that's sort of AFK around this thing. But red trim on his. Oh, I like this song. Wait, why am I? What? Why am I getting bowed at? Are you gonna go for your? Yeah, I was gonna say go for him, bruh. Wait. Yo, what's this cross teaming we got here? What's that? Why are you only blowing me? Okay. Oh fuck. Okay, we're cross teaming. What the fuck? Okay, well, I gotta run now because are they actually cross teaming? It was a good couple of years. Hold on. I gotta like actually combo this. I gotta cook this kid real quick. Okay. Just that game didn't count. I'll tell you that much right now. That game did not count. Okay. There's just 3 people at 0-0 and they're not going. Okay. Anyways. Okay. What's up, JP? Because yeah, there's teamers at 0-0. There's teamers at 0-0. All right, give me an L. It's fine. I'll take an L. It's, you know, it's all right. I wasn't paying attention. I'll blame that on my, I don't know. You should have teamed with them. I probably should have, right? Wait, that's actually so bad, bro. Oh god. Whatever, it's fine. It's fine. We're a new game. First time seeing Qndres lose? Yeah, I really take us. Booster! I love you, Booster. Dude, you know, do I just give the playlist out? I might just give the playlist out. You know what? Chat, take the playlist. Here you guys go. How do I give it to you guys? Merry Christmas. Take the playlist. Wait, can mod edit the command for playlist? There you guys go. You guys can have the damn playlist. Can you guys at least like it though? Please like the playlist. And I'm still adding music, by the way, to it, so it's like kind of mid. I'm not gonna lie, it's like mid right now. Oh, okay. Have fun with the playlist. If you guys want me to add songs, just let me know which ones, and maybe I'll add them if I like the song. Okay, I didn't pick up the. Oh shit, book. Okay, well they got the book room ready. Okay, they have an axe. What kit allows you to go axe? Okay, well. Okay. I see water, okay. I don't use Spotify anymore. Wait, really? Meow, well, nice name, thank you. Everybody has 1 like. Let's go. Hell yeah. Thank you guys for liking the playlist. Just like the playlist up, guys. Maybe I'll make more if I ever like bored and just want to listen to music. I mean, I sometimes just make playlists when I'm like actually bored, but I don't know. Then sometimes I just get tired of them really, really quick. So it really just depends. Okay, gotta go. I gotta go. Gotta go. Gotta go. Gotta go. Go. Started. What's up, Fredo? Good morning. Hello. Oh, amethyst right here. What? Please tell me there's lava. There is lava. Okay. Isn't that pretty cool, chat? Some of my viewers are like at the gym right now working out and watching me. That's fucking crazy. Like that's like actually pog, you know? It's cool. When I'm at the gym, I gotta listen to music. When do you think it's I mean, I think probably December 2nd. Because I feel like December 1st is too early still, you know? It's Fortress. Oh my god, no. Bro. Oh, I hate Fortress, bro. It's fine, I gotta just get stuff. Should I just break the low key? I mean, I guess I can still make it though with gunpowder. You know what? I'll screw up everyone's game and mine too. Okay. I put my Christmas. Wait, 7 p.m. Wait, what? You already set up your Christmas tree? You said? I low-key don't want there to be strength. I think strength is actually I hate strength and speed. So I might just be that guy that burn it all. So no one can get it. If I can find all the chests as well. Let's see. This chest right here. I'm watching you come across Atlantic. W. Yeah, there's nothing there. Come on. Is that it? There's gold right here, and then yeah, I think that's it though. I'm gonna go now. All right, bye bye. Good luck at work. Good luck at work. Good luck at work. Appreciate you for the gifted. Appreciate you. Diamonds? No diamonds. Okay. I could just go now. But all right, bro. Maybe I do want strength and speed. Does he not know I have this? Okay. Usually watch reality TV. Okay, okay. W. Hi, Mr. Woo. Hi. All right, I'm breaking this. It's enough. Okay. I think I just gotta go negative now. Yeah, I broke down already. What's up, HenQ? How are you, HenQ? I didn't get this glowstone. I'll get like a couple. Oh, dude, I'm bridging with... I'm literally bridging with this. That's literally all I need. 7. Oh god, okay. Damn, I'm really tired. Just if you zone important. Oh, okay. When I don't know. When I'm at the gym, I can only listen to like a certain genre of music as well. I can't listen to my stream playlist at the gym, you know? I don't know. Is that weird? No, right? I have to listen to like just upbeat or like just fast-paced music, I guess you can say. Thanks for lurk, Frida. Appreciate you. I appreciate the lurk. Let me check something real quick. Yeah, we're good. I wasn't tweeting out that I'm live, but nah, I'm good. All right, now I get full iron. I have to leave early. I have exams at 3. Damn, okay. All right, bye-bye. Bye, Frida. Bye-bye. Good luck with exams tomorrow. If I can get like a good kill wit, dude, it's just like, why is there only 42 players left now? Why does like the majority of people leave? I'm so confused. Or do they just die? Like, look at all these people dying. Oh, like, I mean, I don't know. I love that emote. I love that 7TV emote. Oh, I still didn't add a copper to the 7TV thing. Damn. I keep forgetting to do that. Can someone remind me after stream? Mods? Again? Like, literally ping me so I can do it. I killed them. What? You killed who? Alright, thank you. How? Okay. Can I get 2 more diamonds? Wolfie's on. Wolfie. Oh, there's someone there already. Oh, that was the guy in Nether as well. Little does he know that I have the pot stuff. Should I just rush with the pot stuff? I could just do that and kill people to get more stacked. The players in the game. Wait, what? Okay, 42 players left. Like, what? Almost half the lobby has left. How? Wait, what do you mean by new the half the player? What? Wait, what? The players in the game. What? What are you on about? What are you on about, Venu? What's up, Enix? Hello? How are you, Enix? How many wins today, Enix? How many wins? I have 0. I lost my first game on already. Enix. I thought it was Enix. Sorry, Enix. That's stupid. All right, this guy. I gotta get out of here. Where'd I come from? Over here? What's up, Benjamin? Hello. All right, Benjamin. How is you today? I might just go up and just boost strength, kill for enchants and stuff. I can't be asked to just stay down here and not mine a single diamond because this is all explored already. I have to show you something. Uh-oh. Manu, I think Caitlyn hates me. Is that true, Caitlyn? SMH. Honestly, I would hate you too. Yo, what? I'm kidding, Caitlyn. I'm kidding. Haha. Sharpest book. I didn't get that. Hi, Queen. Welcome back, Queen. Hi, Queen. Hey. Oh, there's a person right there. Okay. Do I have? I don't even have enough for speed and strength. Son, hi son. I'm calling you son. Like I said, I called you son. I'm not calling you San. I'm calling you Sun Sheet. Sun shit. I'm fucking stupid, dude. Okay. Bam, boom. Actually, I'm close to the border. Let's not do this here. You got it? If okay. How are you though? How are you? I might just shop here at 6 or here. Oh wait, that's right. I can. Okay, do this. Bum. Okay. This. I don't play with Phasma with my friends. Wait. I'm not gonna lie. Back when I played Phasma with Booster and 5-Up, I had no idea what I was doing. I was kind of just running around with the flashlight, and then like, I think, I just blocked my water up. I think I found out what to do, like super late into the game, right when like we're about to leave. Ugh. It was fun. It was very fun though. I'm not gonna lie. That was very fun. Other than not a lot of stuff. A lot. Potions, let's go. Yeah, I'm pot rushing. I want to just kill a person with enchants and hopefully just be set, you know? Let me sit down right in my chair. I'm gonna describe bets. Okay. Yeah, we're doing pretty good right now. Pretty good. We lost the first game, so that's like already mid, you know? Wait, you can only brew 6 potions now? Oh shit! Wait, what? Wait, W. Wait, I didn't know that you can. Wait, I'm curious though. I'm curious because I can already think of a way to like bypass this, and I wonder if it's possible. What's up, Spectre? How are you? They did make a potion limit. I like it. It's better to have 1 minute 8 speed. Okay, I bet. I don't have no redstone though. Fuck. Shit. Fuck. Okay, now I know. I'll mine redstone next time. Okay, so now. E2 is only 30% boost from 4. Oh, okay. So it's literally just better to have 20. I mean, oh fuck. Okay, well, why is the guy stalking me? Fuck, I'm only at. Okay, start 3. Fuck, man. How do you find me? Like, I won't even be able to do damage to him. I only have. Like, what? How much was I supposed to do here? What do I do here in this situation? Like, I'm at such a weird coordinate. It's fucking crazy, right? I'm at 600. Next 600. There's a guy here. I gotta like actually run around this. Tiptoe. This is definitely a sniper. If I can somehow go another. Okay. Nah, they're watching the stream. They're watching stream. Don't worry, I'm a professional runner though. See what I mean? Professional runner, like I said. Fuck, I have no blocks. Okay, class time. Go class. Good luck, good luck, good luck. Yes, dude. Yes, dude. Yes, dude. No, dude. No, dude. Come back. Come back. Yes, dude. Who was this 2-4 diamond? Yes. Yo, come back, come back, come back, come back. Come back, come back, come back, come back. Don't blow me. Don't blow him. No, don't blow me. Okay. Okay, that's great. Let me see. Okay. Crazy. First time that's happened to me. Huh. Okay. First time I just got backstabbed in a cave. Okay. I just gotta wake up. I gotta wake up. That's right. Yeah. That prediction, we'll move on for the next game. Because there was like 40 seconds left and it's fine. It's all good. It's all good. By the way, strength 2 is down from 2. Oh, shit. So it's having strength 2, like just having strength 1? No? Right? Is that... So it's like hella nerfed. Yeah, we'll do predictions this game. Okay, bet. Bet. You know what I'm gonna do? Might add another thing here. Oh, 1 and 1. We don't count stream snipers as a loss. We count that as a stream sniping one. The cocoa butter kisses. Yeah, it's fine. It's okay, chat. It's okay. We lose some, we win some, we lose some. Nah, I'll add to as an L. It's fine. Oh, that's an L. It's fine. It's all good. It's all good. But we won't count it as predictions. 8 minutes may be worth. Yeah. 8 minutes and then just... You're right. But you know what I'm gonna do? I'm just gonna do what I've been doing every single day. I'm just gonna rush just sharp 3 diamond. That's just... Yeah. I saw Floatives do it and bro's actually like crazy at it. So I'll try that. I'll lock in. Let me lock in real quick. Let me just lock the hell in. Maybe we'll play with AJ later on. If AJ's up. I love AJ. Chat, you don't know that AJ's literally a sniper? Like this? Nah, dude. AJ's crazy at Minecraft. Yeah, it's better just speed one. Speed one with Threatstone. AJ the married one? No, the one in jail, not the hospital. Wait, what? Simply assigned. Wait, what? Simply, what? I have to go by. Peace out, JP. Simply, what are you saying, Simply? What? When you try to pick up more than 6 pots that has been brewed by a player, it doesn't go in the inventory? Wait, really? Huh. Okay. Now, so wait. I'm so confused. So what if I don't put them in my inventory? Okay. I want to try putting them in a hopper, putting them in a chest, and breaking the chest. Has anyone tried that yet? Or does it, like, or no, does that not work? Or has no one tried that yet? Can tell remove. Oh, you can't even say their name? Wait, really? You can't say simply? No way. Yeah, we probably should honestly remove that word then. Or we could just ban simply. Yo, okay. That's actually. Wait a second. No, I think it's like if you just say simp altogether, like just simply or simping, like simping, you know what I mean? Like it's just, yeah. I'm pretty sure you're allowed to say simp, but you just can't like direct it towards someone. Right? I'm trying to say Simply's name. Well. Wait, Simply, when's the when's wipeout thing? You better win. If you win, can I get like everything? Thanks. Because like I won, like, you know, but you know, obviously, you know, I just, yeah, you know. I would have won. That first round was me being half asleep, and then I woke up, and then I was just like doing it all. I think we got 5th place, and then 6th place, and then 5th. No, we got last, 6th, and 5th. I'll change it. I'll change it, Senshi, after the stream. Don't worry. My bad. My fault. You can't say simply? No, but you can't say simply, like, you know. No, not Eden, bruh. Bro. I was listening to Eden before the stream, bro, and I was like, God damn, bruh. Eden is too good. Way too good. What's up, Alex? How are you, man? I don't know, dude. Eden was like crazy. Just when I went to this concert in February, my God, dude. Best time. That was my first ever concert, and jeez, dude, it was so good. Such a good time at that concert. Just listening to his music is just amazing. How many leaderboard wins? I think we're like 12 leaderboard wins from 12 wins from the leaderboards. It's still far though. It's like hella far, dude. I saw Fruit on there. I seen Feinberg on there. I'm like, God damn, these guys are grinders. Wait, didn't Feinberg do like a 10-hour stream as well on here, and he just kept winning back to back to back to back, or no? Was that Stuart? That actually might have been Stuart on Teams. It was someone. Someone was like beating me. I think it was like a 15-hour stream. You dropped off? Yeah, I did, dude. It's just like those 2 days that I wasn't playing, everyone got like the wins in, you know? Probably Stu? Yeah, probably. Low key, I mean, wouldn't doubt if it was Stu. Did I even practice today at all? Like, I'm just... Alrighty, Bill's already here. Pro was second on Civ? Yeah, it's crazy. That's actually insane. It's okay. Stu, though. I did see him, though, get dropped by Ant. It was actually funny. He got dropped by Ant, right? And then he got trapped as well. Like, dude, that's just... Nah, it's crazy. Stu just... I don't know. He just can't catch a break, man. No, that trap though, this powdered snow trap is crazy. Maybe that game was, yeah. That was yesterday, correct? Oh, nice. We can have instants now. You see, I tell myself that I'm on a sharp 3 rush, but I can't even find diamonds, bruh. I think you're good. Yeah, I think you're good now. Maybe try it. Doesn't work. I don't know. Don't worry. Simply, we'll fix it. We'll get on it. We'll get on it. Don't worry. Don't worry. Okay. We'll get it fixed, Simply, just for you. Don't worry. Just so everyone in chat can say your name from now on. Smiley face. I'm glad that HOPLITE's getting a bunch of recognition, though. I saw, or Stuart was saying that he was playing with Sapnap and Hannah. That's pretty cool. Hell yeah. Looking into it, but nothing is blocked from our side. Oh shit. Wait, that actually might be automated on my Twitch channel. I think I should ban the word. Wait, say Quimply with the KWIMPL. I think it actually works. But obviously it's not Simply's name, but still. Bottle. You can stream HOPLITE more. Yeah, I'm definitely streaming more. I'm gonna be streaming for hopefully 30 days in a row. I hope. Rage. I hope. If I got nothing to do, if I don't, like, you know, if I don't record any videos, or just if I'm just being lazy, I'm just gonna hop on stream. So expect streams a lot more often than YouTube streams for now. For now. There are plans to see an MCC. MCC is hard to get into. There's like, I don't know. From what I heard, there's just like it's just hard. Trust me, it's really hard to get into that. Although there is more events that I'm gonna like. Okay, I'm playing. I mean, I'm not playing in it so yet, but do you guys remember Mayhem? Remember watching me play Mayhem? That was pretty cool, right? I'm playing Mayhem again for sure. I'm gonna apply. I'm not playing Qndres with you, Jack. I'm already playing HOPLITE. You smell. Let's go. I'll join you in a 38 journey. Wait, W. Oh yeah. Thank you. Appreciate it. If you guys are in here, please follow me. Smiley face. Dude, no way. I need 2 more diamonds, bro. How unlucky am I, man? And then I think it just came back to my original cave. Do you like when I play events? I don't know. I think that's a second channel thing, that like my second Twitch account, though. I don't think I should put it in my main account, my main Twitch account, because I don't know. Yeah, they are starting in December. You should apply it simply. It's actually really cool. And they're like taking like a bunch of feedback. It's just like also like really, really cool. To be fair, I think MC Mayhem is like really, really well like it's a good event. Obviously they just needed like some like not tips, but like, you know, just pointers like, oh hey, like do this, do that, you know? And besides that, like, everything else is good. Venu. Venu like the best planet. Yo. W name. Why not main channel? I don't know. I don't know. Wait, I don't know. I'm in testing, Qndres. Oh wait, you're in testing? Wait, really? Wait, W. Wait, do you nail all the hard parkour first try? If so, you're actually crazy, simply, dude. What would you give a noob to, like, what tips would you give a noob? Because I want to get better at parkour, but obviously I'm not good at it. I'm at 110 in Q. Damn. Just get YouTube rank, lol. Oh, my leg hurts. I need you. This chapstick, really good. Is that a dolphin? It's a player. Please give me 2 diamonds, bro, so I can actually rush sharp 3. I'm actually sad. Are you in the chapstick? No. I can like taste it, you know? I can like taste it, you know? Because wait, why doesn't it say the sub count on stream? What the fuck? I thought I had that on. Oh, surely I find diamonds here, right? Wait, yeah, try saying it now. Try saying it now. There we go. It works. Wait, W mods. Wait, thank you, mods, for fixing that. Holy. Wait, actual Giga Chad mods. Holy. This is it. Okay, no, I'm not chewing on my chapstick, bruh. Okay. I'm not chewing on my chapstick. Yo. Chewing on chapstick is crazy. Also, hi, SMJ. Hello. How are you, SMJ? Like, okay, like, do I just not get enchant to go up with a sharp, like, the unenchanted diamond sword, or what? Oh, shit. Oh, my. God damn. My good news. Oh, shit. Okay. You better be cooking. Sam J, are you locked in? Better be locked in, Sam J. I'm just make diamond sword and just rush 0-0. I hate doing it, but I mean, that's all I got. That's all I can really do. Use trap next game? No, not when I'm streaming. It's like, oh shit, Qndres is streaming. I wonder what he's streaming. Oh, he's trapping. Oh, okay. Oh, I won't be following him. It's hard to stream and trap. Okay. I guess if I had nickname, but I mean, I am nickname. People already know my nickname. All right. Oh, I need to sit down right in my chair. Okay. That's 3 blocks of iron. Bam. Bam. What's up, Sook? How are you doing? Pretty good. Chilling. Playing the best ever made. Yo, 2 L's. Yeah. Sadly. The first one, it looked really sus with cross teamers 0-0, not bowing each other, but only bowing me. And then the second one, pretty sure I got stream snipe, but we're not gonna talk about it. We're just GG go next. I better hear this good news soon, Sam J. I want to hear this. Yeah. Well, it's really hard to tell crossing a DM because they can just say like, oh yeah, I'm targeting the least stacked player, like, you know, the you know, but it's really easy to cast someone that's cross teaming. It's not hard. So I play Civ, maybe. If any. Let's go. All right. I need the power bow, I'm not gonna lie. Get heads on him. Oh fuck. Four gaps. Another person here? They're fighting right now? Gotta clean this somehow. Sean 36, Sean 34, Sean 32. Sean 29. Okay. High orbit. I really need this guy's enchants. Where's he on? 130. Awesome play as usual. Thank you. Like, what is that arrow shot? Okay, that should have shot him, but my arrow shots are going like crazy high. That what? That doesn't hit him? Actually, didn't fight this guy. He's on 30. If he's just sharp one diamond, be good for me. That might heal low key. I think I'll heal here, and then I just eat the G head if I need help. He's also enchanted, so I mean, it's really just a gain for me. Yeah, we'll see. What's up, Azuf? Yeah, Azuf, I think I experienced my first time ever getting teamed on at 0-0 earlier, my first game. I was gonna cry. Oh my gosh, please, man. What is this arrow? My arrow accuracy, it's crazy. Using a gap. Nice hit enchants. Raj, Prot. Sharp book. Power book. Ooh, a lot of books. 18 books. Nice. A lot of arrows too. I'm gonna toss this out now too. You know the G head. I think I made my lights ready, so I'm just make more gaps. I don't need sticks anymore. Don't need flint. Don't need that. Boots? Oh shit, you're right. Oh fuck. Definitely W call. W call. Me like. Okay, sharp. Fuck, I don't think I. Yeah, it's fine. Sharp power 1's fine right now. Let's just go to 0-0. Gotta hurry up. Wait, I just realized. Okay, that was amazing kill for us. I can check it out. You can check. Oh, fuck my VOD. I don't have a clip though. It's like I arrived to 0-0, Azuf, and there's a guy that's crafting something, and then there's a guy that's looking at him right next to him, but they all choose. It's like 3 people like at 0-0, and but they all choose to just go after me. But like we're all the same. You know what I mean? It's like okay, like I guess you're. I don't know what the hell they're doing. But I'll be honest with you. Yeah, it's weird. If you just check out the VOD, you'll see what I mean. And I'm like, I say in chat like, yo, surely we're not teaming of this. You know, surely we're not cross teaming. This guy's. Hello? Bullet accuracy? Just gold, hella gold. Arrows, buckets, okay. Oh, sponge, sharp 2 diamond, okay. Okay, bet. Oh my god, that's a. Did you just hit pots? What do you have? What the? Prot 1 boots. It's in that bundle. Chance. Holy fuck, dude. What is that noise? Is that the rabbit? Okay. Jesus Christ, dude. I was like, who is rushing me from... Oh my god, okay. Four diamonds again. Honestly, just might... Do I do it? I'm a gamble. I'm a gambling addict. What can I say? See what we can get. W rabbit. No. That's not a W rabbit. That's really good. Okay. Nah. What do you mean dead bushes? I see someone. Watch this guy have a TNT minecart. Quan. Wait, this guy might be trapping. Low key. Fuck it. W pearl. Pearl right in the cave. Okay. That's the second pearl he uses. Good one. All right. Definitely trapping. Okay. That was very interesting. Bro used 3 pearl just to juke me. Wait, no way he used another pearl, right? Wait, surely he doesn't. Yeah, he knows I'm here. Yeah. I just know it's a trap. I just know it's a trap. But I'm gonna chase him anyways. But I know it's a trap. Like I'm guaranteeing you right now, trap. It's a trap. Oh, look at that. Okay. Yep. And then it's a head hitter. Waiting for it. Yep. Got him. All right, never mind. That was not a trap. I just okay. Dude, you should have seen it the other day, Soof. We had it was a game where I was like, dude, I really want what's it called? Katana. And I went nether, I couldn't find any debris. Dude, I get out another and there's literally debris waiting for me. It's like it's just there. It's just on the floor. And like, there's like diamonds, there's everything for me. Someone got bed bombed or something. It's crazy. Yeah. I was like, wow, I really wish I had katana right now. It happened. I got it. I might make that a video. But the thing is, I only got 4 kills that game because I came out so late. But it was funny. The tall tower to scare me. Wait, what? What do you mean? God is by your side. God did. Never. Oh, I see a bee, a bee, a bee, a bee. This game is gonna be like really tough. I only have 6 gold. All right, let's try to get like Pro 2 stuff now, I guess. Okay, I'm gonna do it. 6 levels. I tested it out already. It's way better to have Pro 2 iron armor. It tanks. What noises? What are you talking about? What are you on about, bro? I don't know what you're talking about. What noises? What? You're hearing things. You're hearing things. You're hearing things. It's not me, bro. Should I turn my camera on? No, I'm not turning my camera on. I'm not turning it on. Hell no. Are you a admin or what are you? Are you just a mod? Huevos. One of huevos. Hello? Come out. This guy's Artemis and I'm just not. My aim is like garbage right now for some reason. Gaps. All right, we're gonna have to run here. Picked up the leggings. Yeah, I got this. What the fuck? What? Huh? What face? Huh? It's short 5, chat. Short 5. Yo, give me, no, I need this go. No. Why, Maxi? What are you doing? Why, Maxi? What are you doing? Yo, why, Maxi? Come here. Make her your dog. Sorry. Puppy. Hey, drop the G-head. Yo, this guy takes no damage though. What the fuck? Let me pick up that G-head up. Why is this guy taking damage? This is gear. Or am I just like not even? Am I just dumb? Okay, weakness. Okay, this guy knows how to play UHC. What's time do I? Was that a whole like 5 minutes of speed? Oh my god, okay. Yeah, this guy has Pro 3 armor, right? Okay, bye. What? Okay, what? 26 seconds of weakness. Ten, 9, 8, 7. GG! Sharp 6. Infinity book. I want to see his gear though. There's no way he had like regular diamond gear, right? Or regular. Yeah, was that Pro 3? Yeah, Pro 3. This guy made Pro 3 armor! Nah, that's crazy. That's actually insane. Pro 3 armor is crazy. With a sword. Okay. What? What? Okay. Like, what the f is this game, bro? What? Okay. No, that's not a lot. It's bannable. It's literally bannable. It's a glitch. take less KP. Jeez. Was this guy X rank for? No way he was. This guy actually might have been X rank for debris. Maybe, I don't know. Proth 1. I think I just go for kills now. You got this? Yeah, 27 gas, bro. I think I found the person. Wait, sharp 7? No. No. Okay, he's already up there. Right here, look. Quick. This is a quick athlete. Come here. Yo, where are you going? Yo. Yo, hey, yo. Hey, come here. Come here. Please. Oh, yes. Take your power for cannon. 32. Cool. Enemy. Okay. Purpose cannon. Yay. Wait, what is it now? It's sharp 9. I have a chance to get sharp 10. No way. I killed someone with a sharp 5 and... Oh, nice, hit him. Sorry, no mercy. But I am streaming on twitch.tv/OG. Yo, okay. My bad. Oh, shit. Get speed. And weakness. Wait. I want to see how much it does, actually. Wait, how does everyone have weakness? What? Okay. This guy's like sweaty. His speed. Okay, I have my thing back now. There's his speed. That's it. Okay, fuck. This is 11. Come here. Your speed right now. Hello, my hits? It's not. Yeah, people are actually sweaty now. Jesus Christ. Dude, you lost, bro. Just, I don't know what you're doing. We're done here, man. You're done, man. GG's. You lost, man. Come on. GG's, you're on 5. GG's, man. GG's, man. You're on 2 hearts, man. Come on, man. GG's, bro. GG's, man. GG. I know you can hear me. GG's. GG's. I mean, you know what? I'm okay with healing. Come here. Oh, damn. Oh. That's... Wow. Wow. Okay. Unlucky, man. GG. I'm gonna blow up the whole map. Toxic? What? You want to hit his house here? I mean, true. True. All right. That's good. That's good. Yeah. I switch my plays when I play this. Chat's 1 win so far. W. Wait, why are people like actually sweaty at these hours? It's insane. All right, I'm gonna go pee real quick. Give me like 2 seconds. Everyone, like, I'll be right back. Just give me 2 seconds and go pee.
Only when he's gone. Oh yeah.
Boy. Yellow. Oh. Yo. Okay. Why am I getting bits? Yo. Thank you for the bits, guys. What? Why is everyone saying L, bro? I can see the thing, bro. Yo, Sam thinks 100 bits. Yo, Vio thinks 200 bits. Booster thinks 100, and then Vio thinks 200. Why is there a hype train all of a sudden? Wait, do you guys know I'm doing a face cam, 1 game face cam if I get 300 subs? Thoughts? We're only what, like 20 away? How many subs are we from 300? Huh? How many is that? Wait, how many subs is that? Like, it can't be that much, right? What's up, Zenning? Hello. Someone get 300. Yeah, someone get 300. But I'm only doing 1 game of if I do hit it with 1 game. Let me pull my empty wallet real quick. Wait, do it. Wait, really? Wait, someone grab a loan real quick. Haha. I would if I wasn't poor. Wait, Sam. Should I just give myself subs? All right, we gotta win this next game now again. Anyone that you guys know that's good in this game? Wait, Zenin. Wait a second, you just followed me. A 1,500 loan for subs? I mean. Okay, a genuine question. Can you get a loan of $1 or no? Like, can you go to the bank and be like, yo, can I get a $1 loan? Or no? I'm curious. I have 400k coins. Wait, holy shit. Wait, save them. Dude, you are dumb as hell. Wait, what? Wait, is it? Listen, man, what if, like, all right, let's just say you wanted to, like, you know, you wanted to store some money in the bank, right? But you didn't have enough money. Oh my God, okay, hold on. 1 sec. Don't talk to me, hold on. Wait. I don't even know what the fuck I'm saying, bro. I'm a mouse, I don't know what the fuck I'm saying. Can you, okay, I'm just actually Pepega. Okay, anyways, anywhom. I have 5 obby. Will I get in chance this game? Who knows? Oh shit. Why is everyone saying it's just a crazy cool emote or 17 emote? Wait, give me a fire aspect and I'll go crazy. Oh, come on, man. Game hates me. Okay. I'll give you some fire aspect. Wait, really? Wait, tell Speeds over to like game mode creative me real quick, and I can just spawn myself in a book. Or tell Eric to give me game mode creative so I can do like 2 seconds, you know? It'll only take 2 seconds. Like I know how to get fire aspect. I'm not stupid, you know? There's actually, you know, there should actually be a game mode called Give Andres Game Mode Creative for a day, you know? And then I can just, you know, take some stuff. Only a little bit. I won't be too greedy. I won't abuse too hard. Well, all right. Say less, Andres. Dude, I'm so fucking tired. It's crazy. But I have to stay up. I have to stay up. I need to fix my sleep schedule again. I can't be sleeping at 2 in the morning again. How much longer do you need to stay up for? 7 more hours. Wait, there's like surely there's stuff over here, right? I'm not playing Crunker, Jack. I'm never playing Crunker. I'm never playing Phasmo. I'm never playing Crunker. I'm never playing Portal. I'm never playing any game you want me to play with you, Jack. I'm sorry. I hate you. Who even are you anymore, Jack? I hate you. Anyways, yo. How many times are you going to fix your sleep schedule? I think this past month, I've fixed my sleep schedule like 3 times already. So, I don't know. What time is it for you? It's 1:50. It is 1:50. Not too late. It's only... Yeah, that's not late at all. Petition to ban Jack? Wait, start a poll up real quick. Should we ban Jack from the chat? Girapchu! No, not Girapchu. No, Girapchu. Zenning, are you this game, Zenning? I feel like I see your name in chat. Maybe you are in this game. So mean. Yes. Let's go. Ban Jack. Should we ban Jack Attack 101 and go live? Yes. Yes. 100%. Everyone vote yes. Sorry, Jack. If you get banned, it's all in chat, not me. Chat voted. And wait, why is chat voting no, bruh? Yo, bruh. Yo, chat. I said yes, bruh. Is it channel points? Yeah, there's definitely channel points. There's channel points allowed. Wow. Someone's definitely voting no. What ledge short? I don't even know, lazies. I don't know. I don't really have any right now. I can't really craft any as well. I don't even have diamonds. I can't even rush shark 3. I'm literally gonna be naked. Help me up. Can I get diamonds though, please? Oh, I can maybe make Artemis now. Chat, should I rush Artemis? I just need gunpowder. That's it. Need 5 GP. But I don't think that can be that hard. 2 diamonds and 5 GP. I kind of like rushing Artemis as well. It's pretty cool. On a horse, imagine. I'm back. Hi, welcome back. How was the gym sesh? Appreciate you guys all watching, by the way. Appreciate you guys. Appreciate you guys. I've been live for an hour and a half. Thank you guys for being here. Love y'all. Don't know how long stream today will be, but you know, thanks for sticking here and watching me. There's no diamonds though. I won't belong. What did Jack do? No, he did nothing. But chat, should we ban Jack? Oh, damn. Yes, one. Van voted. Oh, damn. Oh. Well. No, it's not 50-50 Jack. Looks like yes won by some points. Oh, I didn't win. W. Damn, Loki, I kind of want to go to the gym now. You got me actually like thinking about going to the gym after the stream. Even if I'm tired. Nah. So guilt. How long stream today? I don't know actually, guilt. I don't know, bro. I haven't slept, so I'm gonna try to fix my sleep schedule tonight. So I might stream for like a long time. Maybe. That's what I say, but sometimes I get really bored and I just end. So maybe, I don't know, we'll see. Jack, where are you going? I kind of want to test my camera real quick. I haven't tested it out. Chaz, I want to see my camera. You guys want to see my... Wait, have I shown you guys my new room already? Not my new room, but like, have I like... I think the last time I did a face cam was when my bed was still intact, right? It's not a new room. It's the same room, but new angle and stuff. New angle. No, you haven't? Okay. Well, our room's kind of beat up right now. Show us? Okay, I got you. It's a pretty cool broom, actually. Dude, it just there's just no diamonds, nothing. You mean you hair or what? What about my hair? You just rush sharp power R1. We'll just do that, I think. R1 and sharp 1 iron sword. I just hope it's not a nether, bruh. There's another banker song. Set like it was last. Wait, I have a clock? I have... Wait, slash recipe. How do you make... Oh. 2 diamonds and a TNT, okay. I just want to hear you. Bro. Okay, I'm gonna go up. If I can somehow find gunpowder, though, it'd be pretty cool. You ever seen the AFK problem solos and how no players are left after PvP? What do you mean? Oh yeah, I know what you're talking about. It's weird, right? Yeah, I don't like that. I don't like that at all. What if there's like a little if you leave before a game, maybe like a little ban, you know, like a little like comp ban. You can't queue like until like 2 minutes, maybe. I don't know. It's actually annoying when people leave like that. It is very annoying. Like it was last night. Wait, what do I need this for? What do I need a clock for? Do I not need it for anything anymore? Thanks for lurker orb, appreciate it. I think I wasn't it. Wait, what? Yeah, I used to nether rush, but that was back then when the enderbow was broken to rush. Now it's just mid. Now I'm rushing this. Just looting or fortune? Hiccups. Okay. Meow. Wait, don't they drop? Okay. They drop string, right? Nope, they don't. Fuck. Sorry. I don't use cobwebs, bro. Shh. Oh, fuck. Oh, fuck. This guy's pots, or he has... Yeah, this guy's a sharp 3. I'm gonna run forever. I don't want to fight him at all. Surely there's someone around, right? Damn, this guy's a sharp 2, bruh. I won't be able to drop him because he's also enchanted. Okay. Sure, there's someone back here now, right? Right here. Perfect. Okay, bro, this only watch me. Okay. Only fight if you want to go to another lobby. Yeah, I don't know if I want to fight this. You can kill me for sure. Okay, though. I just can't hit him at all either. Like, what? I have to add a gap there. Bro, this shit's annoying. Yo! Yo, someone right behind you, bro. Huh? Yo, turn on the guy behind you, bro. I like... Oh, bro wants me now. Okay, well. We running the border. We're already on border. Like, what does bro get from me? Cool iron? You just get drains. Okay. Wow, I wonder where he's at. Yeah, I have like everything to make enchants too. Yo, Andre, what's up? Hmm. What's up, Overground? Like, is this actually worth just camping me, or? Yeah, I know. Like, what? Okay, mates. Okay. Then he's just got to see me over here. You see me? Wait, he's running that way. He's coming back for me, bruh. Okay. This guy's just not in the UHC mood right now. Bro really wants me dead. Nice, Sue. Like, good job, man. Bro really wants me dead, but it's just wasting his time on me. Like, okay, bro. Running forever. Your iron just looks so funny. My iron? Wait, what? My iron gear? Oh, wait. I can actually get a gold. Oh shit, he's right there. Bruh, like what? Like what does he gain from this? Congrats, you chased me. Yo, Evade, what's up, Evade? Uh-oh.
Evade Karma just subscribed.
Oh yeah, sharp 3. Yeah, it's definitely sharp 3. Thank you, Evade, for the Twitch Prime. Appreciate you, man. Wait. guy dropped, bruh. Yeah, I don't know. That's whatever that sword is crazy. Like, bro, like, just leave me alone, man. It's HOPLITE.gg. It's a UHG server. And people are like mad cringe, bruh. Like, okay. Wait. Wait, over here. Dude, how do you not hear me? Okay, brother just did not hear me. I mean, I have like tons of blocks, so. Do I just like what? Like what? Like what? Like what? How is this guy playing like this, bruh? Chasing me to border? Like what? All right, we go again. Like, well, nice. Like I got nothing for me now. Okay. What's up, Mike? What's up, Louis Bent? Hello. Probably, but now he got nothing. Bro just got drained. What's up, Willie Draw? Hello. Anyways, that was a horrible game. Jesus. I will slash Nick 1 2 3 3 2 1 3 1 2 3. There we go. Nope. Grandpa Gamer 1 2 3. Good name. W name. Anyways, yeah. What is LB? Leaderboards. Leaderboards. We're like 9 games away now from leaderboards. Oh, I'm so tired, chat. I'm so tired. Like, literally, I'm tired. Hey, if I'm promoting my Twitch stream. That's me. That's me, Azoof. Hi, Zoof. Okay, don't ego me, Zoof. Surely you're not promoting your Twitch. Surely I am. Mods, ban this guy. Okay. Wait, I'm literally I forgot his name. I'm just gonna jump at 0-0. Yeah, I'm tired though. I'm really tired. Promoting is wild. Dude, you're literally doing your team games. Like, who are you? Hi, Stuart. Are you drunk still? Ego, 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 ego. You got a new laptop? I got an i9. Wait, Jesus. Damn. I need to buy a laptop so I could I want to do I don't know. I used to be I never edited with Sony Vegas or with Premiere Pro. I was always like an iMovie guy. Yeah, y'all ever just use iMovie? Or just me? So last game, I got chased by this guy. He was very mean. He did not let me live. He wanted me dead. He didn't stop chasing me. I'm rushing Midas this game. Hey, sexy. Hi. Chat, I'm rushing Midas this game. I don't sleep tonight. Right now, I have school tomorrow. Peace out. Bye. Bye. Wait, surely you didn't mind the diamond. Yo, you have a free creative. Wait, lucky. What the fuck? I had to pay 20 bucks for my pass, my Premiere pass, whatever it's called, for thumbnails, bro. I want to just mine this diamond now. I'm making a 9 pickaxe. There's nothing you guys can do to stop me. Surely no one minds it, right? Bye. Give me one more diamond and I'll be ready to rush 0-0. Yeah, I'm not rushing anything else. I have Midas, literally free Midas. Gotta go another though. That's the only thing. Wait, Legion, you should definitely give me your yeah, definitely give me your access to that Premiere Pro, you know. Smiley face, please. Oh, what the fuck? No, 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 no. You stink. You stinky. I just missed one diamond, bruh. Okay. I'll go another. I'll find the one diamond later, I hope. Any gravel. Surely you'll pay. Surely, and you'll pay from me. Yeah, about that. Yeah, no, definitely, yeah, 100%. Yeah, good trade, yeah. I'll buy you a graphics card for your. Yeah, no. Oh. I'm not going. No, I don't care. Take the pots. Actually, no, no, it's fine. That's whatever. Just take the pots. I don't care. I don't care. I don't care about pots. Take them. What? Grandpa Gamer, you're going down. Wait, Zoof, that's Zoof. Hello? Okay. All right, Zoof. What if you try? Try, please. I'm 100% sure. If you don't mind me asking, how much did you spend on your PC? On your laptop, my bad. Did you spend like a lot on it? I remember a friend was telling me he was buying like a $1.8 thousand laptop. He's like, yeah, it's for streaming. I'm like, okay, then just basically just buy a PC then. It's like, no, I'm good. I'm like, okay. Well, bro just spent 1.8K on a laptop when he could have bought like a crazy could have bought a crazy computer, but okay. Only 1.1? What? Wait, why did you just buy a crazy computer? Or did you have to like, did you use it like on the go and stuff? Okay. Give me 1 diamond, please. I got everything I need. Just give me 1 diamond. He's on the go. Ah, I see. Okay, makes sense. Wait, do you game on that or what? Oh, dude, I'm so tired. Fuck. I see. Or it could be like me back in the day when I used to play on Minecraft on a Mac on like 30 FPS, 35 FPS, and then I downloaded a virus, and then everything was just laggy. And yeah, I felt very bad for my mom because on my mom's laptop, she got mad at me. She's like, "What virus is this?" It said better FPS, and I downloaded it, and then yeah, that's it. I used to be, yeah, same here. Yeah, I used to be PvP with the mouse pad, with the touchpad, whatever it's called, and then yeah, then I got a mouse. Wait, like school gave us all like these crazy mices, what are they called? It was like a Logitech something, and I used that for like the longest time, and then it broke, and I broke it. Like the left click just stopped working, and yeah, that's it. That was just wraps for my mouse. I've had like so many mice the past years. I'm surprised this one hasn't broken on me yet. And this one feels like super cheaper, but it's this silver, the something, no, what is it? The lightweight mouse. Use the thing touchpad. Was there like those like hack clients that have like a no hack clients? It was like what was it? You could use like a certain thing for your mouse pad, and it would literally just like auto click for you. And it was like hard to detect on servers. Oh, I forgot what it was called though. Like you put something on your computer, and just you'll be able to like auto click with that. I never did it. That was like loser activities. Come on, I'm not a loser. Can I find 1 diamond, please? Please? I just need 1 diamond. I don't even have iron yet for my full iron. If I can get 1 iron, I can go 0-0 and just rush. How are you, bitch, by the way? How are you? But yeah, I need a better graphics card for this. Wait, have you been playing HOPLITE? The draw. Why are all my friends addicted to HOPLITE? Is it because of me? Did I get my friends addicted? Is addiction really that like crazy? Damn. All my friends play HOPLITE now because I'm here. And I blame my friends for my sleep schedule being fucked up. GG. Yo. No, I'm kidding. My sleep schedule is messed up because of myself. And for sleeping at 12 in the morning. Set up that. I'm actually down to see this. Do you game on in your bed? That's crazy. I used to be me though. Oh, dude, I have a picture actually of me like sitting crisscross applesauce playing a UHC. Oh my god. Yo, Minecraft block. What's up? Oh, okay. Okay. I'm new here. Okay. Let me guess. Are you streaming? Mods? I'm new here. It's my first time watching. Cool story. Oh, right. Actually, normal. No way. Sorry. Usually there's a lot of bots that come to my channel saying that they're new here and they're streaming. I don't think that's you. I don't think you're streaming right now. Oh, hey. Up in the space. Okay. Poor Minecraft block. Low key, I know. Fuck. Bro's like, oh, what the fuck? My first stream, I'm getting roasted over here? What? No, I'm not streaming, but I want to though. Wait, don't stream. Don't stream, please. Loki, I could go back for that. I can Loki go back now. Yeah, I'll do that. It's bots. I want to get a sharp tube right now. And kill this person, maybe. They don't look like they're enchanted. You think they're enchanted? Or are they? Where'd they go? Either a certified banger. There's someone here in this cave. What? Am I dumb? What? Hold on. Yo, am I dumb? Did I like leave this cave or something? Where were they? They were here. Were they not here? They're unenchanted iron. What? I'm going up then. No way, I don't see him. Like, what? Am I blind, bro? Who was that? There's someone in my cave, bro. Where'd they go? All right, they better be up top. Yeah, it's all custom textures. They're all custom textures. I see someone right there. Oh my god, we're gonna burn forever now. Damn, they're pulling at me last game. Ow. Okay. Paul, that shit hurts. What the fuck? He hit a head. What? Yo. Whoa. No way. I am throwing. I can't play this game, bro. All right. Well, this isn't going well. This is not going well at all. Damn. This isn't good, chat. This isn't good. When you have 3 losses, 1 win. Yikes. Yikes. No. Actually, you know what? What's up, this guys? Damn, rip Qndres? Yeah, rip. Hold on, I want to see the like I'm what is that? 11 wins now? God damn. 11 wins off. That's right. What if you change your nickname? True. Let's blame the Knicks so we can actually win this time. Rain the Knot. Good name. Okay, one. Oh shit, man. I gotta stop yawning because I'm just getting more and more sleepier. Ugh, fuck. Okay, I don't know if this not no this not I'm not ending it. I'm not ending it. I'm gonna keep on going. I gotta grind. I gotta grind. It's got this hellboat. Wait, let's see. Change Nick to Flowism. No. No. I am not doing that. I am not doing that. Bet booster. Sound the ba bam ba bam. All right, it's fine. Wait, I talked to you. Super scuff setup. What the hell? Jesus. Maybe your setup is actually way more scuffed than mine. All right, well, cool. I had to just see something real quick. So currently at work, but I snuck in to say hi and bye. Oh, okay. Hi and bye. What would be a minute? Oh yeah, right. Damn, like that actually made me mad last game. All right, let's see if we can win this game. Let's try to take this game. Okay. Huge. Wait, it's Rapchu. Hi, Rapchu.
Wait, what? Wait, Andres?
No, it's Grandpa Gamer.
Oh.
No, I mean, it's the Rain the Knot.
Yeah.
It's Rain the Knot.
Yeah.
It's not Andres. I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah,
Bye, Rapchu. I don't know what you're talking about. It's not me. I'm not Andres. Bye.
No, Rain. No.
What?
No, I'm a big fan of you, actually.
Oh, really? You're a big fan of Rain?
Yeah, I'm a big fan of Rain.
Yeah, really? Huh? Okay. Where have you seen me on?
Shit.
You're sick.
Probably like HOPLITE. Yeah, I'm sick.
Oh, no.
Oh.
Picked
That's
my
embarrassing.
All right, getting my wood picked up by an Australian is kind of crazy. Okay, never thought that'd actually be happening.
Crazy.
Okay, the Rapture.
What's ping than you as well? Yeah, man.
Yeah. So you ready to die?
What? Dude,
What?
That's crazy.
What? Crazy?
You wouldn't do that.
I would never do that. No, of course not. It's a Rapture.
No.
Rain would never. I mean, sorry, Andres would never. I'm not sure about Rain though. You know what I mean? Rain's
Fair enough. Yeah.
a different person.
Yeah.
You know what?
Yeah, I'm curious. How do you? What's like the best way to play this game? I'm not gonna lie. I don't know this game as well.
So pretty much, okay. So listen closely, okay, Rapture.
Yeah.
You got to get to half a heart first. Okay, so like, yeah. So I need you to like take damage real quick to half a heart, and then after you get a half a heart, you don't heal. And those 13, like obviously now there's 13 minutes to PvP, not 12 now. And those 12 minutes, you do nothing. You just sit on surface and you get a lot of leather. After that, that's it. That's all you do.
Right.
Yeah. You believe me?
I kind of believe you. Yeah.
Best of luck to you. Best of luck to you, Dropshoe.
Yeah. No worries, man.
No, Dropshoe. All right, that's enough. You're right. Nah. Okay. Nah. Just wait. All right. What's up, Red? Are you winning? No. I got dropped last game with my Midas. Dude, it's crazy that okay, so I play around like 8 p.m. to like 12 in the morning, you know? And those lobbies are so easy. These lobbies are all full of sweaty people. It's crazy, Radoons. It's actually insane. I don't even know what to rush this game. I might just like rush Shark 3 if I can get Shuriken now. Because I really don't have anything else to do. Yeah, I might just rush R3. Yes, yes. Australian time is the best time for wins. That's what I've noticed. And right now it's like the sweaty people are along, you know, I mean, like everyone's off of school. Everyone's just grinding HOPLITE. Now is not the time you don't want to play now. I'm gonna wait until like the late nights to get the easy lobbies. Yeah, Drapchu, pay attention, bro. Okay. Yeah, it's gonna be rough. I wasn't going Nether, but I don't want to go Nether. I hate Nether. Right, oh, right. If you're trying to play teams, by the way, let me know. I'm down to play teams. I gotta stay up for like another hour. I don't even know. There's noobs like kidding. Okay, bro's not kidding. We'll go look over here. Okay. Bet red dunes red bet. Just let me know when, bro. I'm up whenever. Okay. This way. Bro, there's no diamonds, bro. All right, I might go back the other way. Wait, unless... Yeah, go back the other way. Oh, that's not it. Yeah, if you just don't procrastinate, forehead. Dude, there's no diamonds. There's just no diamond. My diamond luck today is just horrible. And there's someone in my cave already. Ugh. Please give me diamonds. 2, 4. I just need 4 diamonds, please, bro. Like I just nope. No. Gold. Yeah, someone's right in this cave, bro. Sag. Yeah, Spectre. No diamonds, bro. No diamonds, bro. Like, do I go down way too late? What's the problem? All right, Alfie. Later, man. He's looking at me very, very scary. He's a very scary guy. Oh, okay. Okay. Please. Hi, Copper. Okay. Boom. Qndres, I got clean that game. Yeah. Wait, by the way, did you end up looking at the VOD, by the way, Azuf, of those guys that are like low-key cross-teaming or nah? Can you check that out? Like, I'm genuinely curious if you think that's cross-teaming. If you think that's cross-teaming, I might have footage of like an actual 3-team then. Because they're looking at each other like they're on a VC, you know, and they're not blowing each other. Oh, by the way, yo, guys, if you guys are like ever in need of a staff member that's like as soon as possible, do /help op, and you'll get staff member. You'll get a staff member will be alerted. Oh, I see those. No, one vein. Are you serious? What's the command? /help op. I'm not sure if it's a YouTube only command or if it could be like anyone can use it. I'm not too sure. Damn, this place was crazy. Oh, wallpaper. Yes. We're back. Bet. Did you win that game? I got you in 1 heart. Good fight. Wait, who were you? Wait, which one? Ooks Q. Yeah, I think I won the game. Yeah. That's the only game I won so far, bro. I got another water bucket. I could actually low-key make Artemis. Nope, never mind. I need the thing. I'll make sharp 3 though. Bam, 2 and 3. Okay, now let's go to 0, 0. I gotta like do some hand rolls or something, bro. My aim is just not on today. Okay. That. Anything? One apple, nice. Okay. I got this. Come on, lock in. What is that? Yo, is those portals? Please have lava next to them. Oh, over here. Oh, they really do. Yeah. Fair enough. Fair enough. Thank you for watching it, though. Appreciate you watching it. One of them is a known sniper. It was the one that was running into the village. He's like the known sniper guy, but you know, you already know. The moment you get them banned, they come into my chat. Why did you ban me? Why am I banned from the server? Well, G freaking G, I guess. Oh shit. Oh, I need that. Yeah, it is strange. It is strange. Wait, stream sniping is bannable? No. Wait, do you have YouTube rank? I do. I do, Drapture. I do. I have 30K on YouTube. I barely got it. What? At the time, I was 29.8. But they gave it to me because they're so nice. I love them. Oh, fuck. I'm just... Oh. Wait, I already have... What am I doing? Okay. Just grind. You got this, Rapture. You got this. When's the next video coming out, huh? When's the next video coming out? It better be soon. Yo, Rapture. Lock in, bruh. Lock in. Oh, it for a long time. No, you go for it, Rapture. Go for it. You're all good, man. I don't mind. Okay. Okay, so pretty much when he comes up here, take up my armor and pretend like I'm naked. They're gonna fight right now. What does this guy have? You guys are full line. They're definitely gonna fight in 60 seconds. I'm like, okay, well, not wait. They're gonna chase each other. Are hard displays bannable? Is that bannable? I don't know. Might have to look at the rules. Oh, it says a chest plate. Oh, bro. Wait, low key? Unenchanted diamond chest plate? Low key? Yo, fight. No, don't run, bruh, fight him. Oh my god. Oh, they're gonna fight. Wait, this time guy's getting tossed. Give me your diamond chest plate. Give me that. I need that. Not you. Archer bow? Gunpowder? Wait. Please. No, he didn't have it. Okay. Did I get everything? Oh, I have 5 diamonds. Okay. I think I just keep the diamonds. Okay. There's people somewhere here. This guy right here. At the mall. I just checked to the mall. Go fight me. Let's go. He's gonna try to combo me. I got this. Come on, man. Yo, hey, yo. Oh, amethyst too. All right. Don't gap. Let me get that. Got him. Okay. Is there a bundle anywhere? I saw a bundle. Yeah, 11 diamonds. Pretty good. See another guy in the distance. Nah. That's floatives.
I flow.
Yo, focus that. This guy's mad stacked.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say. I think it's a team, but
I think we should, right? I think we kind of have to. Here, come on, let's go. Yo, what's up, buddy?
Nah, surely. Okay. This isn't good. God damn. Okay. All right. Surely this is not teaming. Like, well, you know what I mean? They even said, I ain't gonna, you know. I ain't gonna say it. I ain't gonna say it. Okay, they're still doing it. Okay, avoiding each other is crazy now. Okay, that's insane. Yeah, dude, this has to be cross teaming. Like, I don't think floating is me either. That's a thing. If this guy only, but yeah, hello, yo. Oh, what? Okay, now they're blowing each other, but like, what was that? Okay. Yo, that's crazy, bro. Like, I just got drained, like all those gaps. Are they gonna fight each other or you keep blowing me? Thanks, St. Hall. Yeah, I mean, make it a little less obvious, guys. Mm-mm. It's about right there, I'm pretty sure. Mm-mm-mm. We're gonna take this all the way down here. Mm. Damn. I don't know. That's a GG. That's a GG's. I can't do anything. GG's. Yeah. Unfortunate. Yeah. That crossing was crazy though, but you know, I ain't gonna say anything. GG's. Close is crazy. Wait, Nikolai said something. Nikolai just bad. Yeah. I need to watch that again. I gotta watch that all over again real quick. Wait, I wonder what he said to him. How do I? Okay, perfect. He said something to him, but I didn't know what he said. Nah, that's floatives.
I flow.
Yo, focus that. This guy's mad stacked.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say. I think it's a team, but
Wait a second. Wait a second. Wait a second. Wait a second.
We kind of have to. Here, come on, let's go.
Flo?
Yo, focus that. This guy's mad stacked.
yeah, that's what I was about to say. I think it's a team, but
I think we should, right? I think we kind of.
Wait, did y'all hear that? Nah. I mean, they got warned, I guess. They got warned for cross teaming. Yeah, we're VOD. Well, we died, but we got cross teamed on. They even said it in chat.
What's
Like,
up, buddy?
wait.
yeah, that's what I was about to say. I think it's a team, but
I think we should, right? I think we kind of have to. Here, come on, let's go.
Yeah, they. Oh, come on, let's. Dude, I don't want to be that guy, you know. I ain't gonna say it, but I don't think floatives know it's me. That's why. And then like, look at this. Surely. You know what I mean? It's like, okay, this isn't good. Yeah, I don't want to be that guy for floatives, but like it's like, you know what I mean? God damn. Okay. I didn't think they're actually like cross teaming. I thought they were just like, you know, targeting the like targeting me because I'm stacked.
This is not teaming. Like, well, you know what I mean? They even said, okay.
Okay, just me like
They're
yapping.
still doing it. Okay, avoiding.
This part is crazy. Watch, like, this is the part I was like, wait, what the hell? Yeah,
Okay,
like
avoiding each other's crazy
that
now.
part. Hold on, let me try to pause it. Okay, so one goes. So he's coming straight toward me, and surely like this guy jumps after him, right? And like maybe hits him once here, but instead, one goes left, one goes
Okay,
right.
avoiding each other's
Look how it's
crazy
live.
now. Okay,
That's just me being salty. It's me being salty. Wait, someone's the name Cloaksy. What the fuck? Cool.
Yeah, dude, this has to be a cross team. Oh, what?
And then like this part here
I don't
too.
think floaters is me either. That's the thing. If this guy only.
Yeah, like that part. That another part right there. That's like two pieces right there.
What?
It's like,
Okay, now they're.
dude, I don't want to be that guy, but like, you know what I mean? It's like, if they do it to me, it's like they do it to any other person. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Who was the other guy? I don't even know what the other guy's name is. And it's like until he got warned, then he stopped doing it. But
Yo, that's crazy, bro.
like he's still blowing me here. And then where's the other guy?
Like, I just got drained.
I think this is where he gets warned. Oh, the guy's
Fight each other or
still
keep
blowing me.
Thanks, St. Hall.
Like I don't be like a Karen, you know, like, oh my god, get this guy's bands. Like it's just like, it's like I'm trying to stream. I'm trying to like also win, you know, but
Guys.
like I think right there is when they get warned and they start fighting each other. But like that's after the fact, you know what I mean? It was Tui. Yeah, it's like,
You know.
I don't know. I don't want to say anything, but Azu's literally in the chat right now. He's a moderator.
Floatives.
It's like this is the part where it's like, okay, what? Uh-oh.
flow.
Yo, focus
Hi,
that. This
Sharkies.
guy's mad stacked.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say. I think it's a team, but
I think we should, right?
Oh, like that's like, okay, that's like That's like part one. It's like, okay, well, they're just
What's
like,
up, buddy?
it's like, I guess that's fine, you know. It's like, okay, it's cool. Like cross teaming is like taking me down to like maybe getting me low and stuff. That's cool, you know. But maybe bow each other some, right? Yeah, like that's wild. And then like I'm just getting power 3 pelted here. Surely. Okay, this is me like getting a little mad. Yeah, he's using a HOPLITE mod. He's yeah. So like I'm just getting pelted, you know. It's nothing I can do here.
God damn. Okay. All right. Surely this is not teaming. Like, well, you know what I mean? They even said.
All right, Sharkies.
I ain't got, you know.
Dude, that just looks bad on flow, bro. I mean, I'm not gonna lie. There was a game where I boarded myself and like against flow, but you know, but like this is just like it's like a whole another level, you know. I feel like I don't know. What's up, P-Small? I don't know. What do you guys think? What do you guys think? Is this? Would you guys consider this cross teaming or nah? I mean,
yeah, 11 diamonds, pretty good.
Yeah.
Another guy in distance.
True. I mean, I don't know. Wait, what happened? Yeah, right here. Look, ready?
Nah. That's floatives.
No, I already have a Azus in here. He watched the whole thing happen. I think like the wild part's right here. This is where it starts. I flow. Focus. This guy is mad stacked. I hate the crossing, but we should. I think we kind of have to.
Yo, what's up, buddy?
Like that part. This part's crazy. This part is crazy. Both of these guys doing it. It's crazy. I mean, it's. I don't know. Yeah, it's like I would understand if it's like a death match, you know what I mean? Like, okay, by all means, tark the hell out of me because it's deathmatch, you know? But like, we're not even in a deathmatch yet. It's 27 players remaining. I'm 2 force diamond. Like, there can be some like melee exchanges here. You know, I'm running because I can run, you know? I have 4 diamonds. I can make something here. I was gonna make Artemis. Like, I was gonna run and get Artemis. But, you know, I feel like, dude, that just like looks really bad for floatives, bro. I don't know. I don't know. I'll let the mod just handle it. I don't want to say anything. It's up to the mods to decide. Like, that would have been. I'm not gonna lie. If I didn't get cross team there, I would have had like 9 gaps. I would have had so much stuff. Like, but I had to like literally keep running, or else I was gonna die. They're just gonna keep on bowing me and stuff. Yikes. Oh, Doozum's in the team? I think I might play teams. Wait a second, I might play teams. Nah, Doozum's in the lobby. Yeah, we're gonna pretend like we dodged. To me and died with 3 force diamond. Let me in. Wait, Azu, aren't you asking a mod right now? Hey, I'm actually like curious what a mod's gonna say, like, or a higher up's gonna say. I put it in the Discord. Okay. You want me to ask Robbie? I mean, that's up to you. Is Floater still in the game? Dude. It's yeah, I don't know. Is he streaming or is he not streaming? Not streaming. Oh, I can hear myself. Wait, is that like a punishment? Crossing like that's punishable, right? It's like actually, what's the punishment on that? Is it rules? It's just rules. Are we not on? Damn. Give me 1 sec then. I'm just messaging someone. One sec, chat. One sec. I mean, it's yeah, it's oof. No, Flotus, I am not trying to get, dude. Azu's watching, by the way, bro. Dude, is Flotus. Listen. I was just here. I'm just playing the game. Hey, I even said it in chat. I was like, hey, it ain't me. Yeah, I know. Hey, like I said, it's not me. I said I ain't taking care of it. Yeah, it's fair enough. I think I don't know, it's just wild, you know? I'm just playing game. I'm trying to play Civ right now. I'll be honest. I just saw the VOD. I wanted to hear what you said. I just didn't hear what you said. I thought you said something to me. I thought like you noticed it was me. And I was watching. Yeah, hey. I ain't trying to get you banned, Flo, but we're just VOD review, you know what I mean? Hey. I was curious what you said to the guy. Because that crossing was wild. I'm like, you know what I mean? You know what I mean? Like, it's wild. Yeah, can you admit that was wild too? I just said we need to focus you. Bro, the guy... it's you know every game. No one ever gets banned. Hey, dude, I honestly... I don't know. Dude, I had a modder watching these floatives, and that's when they're like, yeah. I think the guy said like, I mean, do you want to see the VOD? You can give your 2 cents on it if you want to see it. I can let you see the VOD and you tell me what do you think. It's bad though. It's bad, floaters. Like I'll be honest with you. It's bad. Like, I don't think you want to see either. Like, you know what I mean? Like, hey, I was trying to stream. I'm just like. I just wanted to move on, you know. I was like, all right, GG's, I guess, you know. But the cross team was a little crazy. I ain't gonna lie, because I would have been able to run away. I would have been like crafting Artemis and crafting more healing, because I had like 30 gold still. But I was just getting like chased, you know, and I couldn't do anything. It was a little annoying, but like I said, I had a mod watching the whole thing, bro. I ain't trying to get you banned, but like. A mod was spectating, you know what I mean? Like, we were both spelling you, you're full down. True. But I think the part where it's like, I'll just show you, bro. I'll just show you. Like, I don't want, like, look. This is what the mod was saying. Like, I'll show you. I think, like, the part where it's like, oh, shit. You know what I mean? It's right here. Watch. That's a little right here. Yo, Lucky, thanks for gift this up. Appreciate it. Okay, so right here is getting kills.
Has gifted 1 sub.
Appreciate it, Lucky. Appreciate it.
That's floatives.
I hear I was like, oh, that's floatives.
Yo, focus that. This guy's mad stacked.
Focus, this guy's mad stacked.
I think we
Right.
should.
Right there is like, oh shit, you know what I mean? Like, you should not have been like, nah, we can't cross team, or now let's try to not do that. But it's like, oh fuck, you know, that at that point you're like, yeah, we should cross team.
Yeah. I think we kind of have to. Here,
I think that you know what I mean? That's crazy.
What's up, buddy?
Yo, thanks to tier 1. Appreciate it, Lucky. Yo, 3 months, W. Thank you so much for the gift this up and for the tier 1. Surely. That's it right here. I was like, oh, fuck. Hello? Yo. Oh, I was a little salty right here. I was like, oh, well, hello? And like, you guys aren't bowing each other here.
Okay, now they're bowing
I think
each other.
he bowed you here, I think,
like,
once.
What was that?
This is also crazy right here. This is like the funny part.
Okay.
Wait, where is it? Right there? I think I skipped it. Hold on. There's one part that's like actually
That's
funny.
insane.
Right here. Look. And then he killed it. Yeah, I know you did it. But that's when AZ4 and you, I'm pretty sure, right?
Each other's crazy now. Okay,
Dude, floaters. Like, I don't know. Like, I had a mod. You know, I wasn't watching. There was literally a mod watching. You know what I mean? There was literally a mod watching. Oh shit! No, I don't want to do that. Yeah, floaters. I don't know. I mean, like, even if it wasn't me, floatives, like, even if it wasn't me, like, you know what I mean? Like, it's, I don't know. I don't think you should be doing that in general. Just saying. It's whatever. That's whatever. I was heated at the moment because I was like, wait, why are they doing this? But, you know, it's fine. It's all good. Peace out, Sam J. Peace out. Yeah. It is what it is. We go again. What launcher are you using? Wait, me? I'm using Minecraft launcher. Why? Minecraft launcher. Want to play Zoof? I'm down. Wait, Radoons, are you on? Are you trying to play? Yo, red. Run it back. Add me on Discord. Qndres. No, you know what's crazy is Nick like calling me a noob. You trying to play red? I play Civ. Okay, Nikolai, you are a noob, Nikolai. And down bet. Ow, fuck. Hold up, I'll join for Civ. Fuck, I don't got a spot. I just got a third. Fuck, I got you next, Rapture. I got you next. I got you next. Rapture. I got you next.
What's good?
Yo.
Oh my god.
All right, party.
Civ time. I don't.
How many wins do you have in Civ, huh?
Me?
Yeah.
Like 24, 25.
Okay.
I really only play Civ. I've been trying to play more solos though, because I want to record, but ugh.
Dude, I freaked out for a second. It said, like, while I was trying to join HOPLITE, like, you're not logged into your Minecraft account. I was like, what?
Wait,
what do you... No, it got fixed now. I'm on.
Okay.
All right, invite me.
Sure. You saw that that VOD review read. What are your thoughts on that?
I don't know, man. I think you're making shit. I'm joking.
Yeah, that's crazy.
I mean,
That's
listen. I mean, there was definitely something.
Yeah, no. I don't want to say it, you know what I mean? Like, I know the guy.
I'm not gonna take no side. I mean, I'm also not gonna accuse the #1 player of, you know, misdemeanor. I'm not about that life, you know.
Yeah, me either. I don't know.
Listen, I don't need the heat on my on myself. All right, I'm just gonna listen. I am a lawful Samaritan. All right, that's all I'm gonna say. I think that I'm a good Christian, and I think everyone else should be as well.
Christian is crazy.
Okay, that's a lie. I may be agnostic, but you guys get it.
Damn, already lying.
Already lying. That's crazy.
Fine, ban me.
Oh?
Ban you?
I mean, AZ is a mod. Wait
I
a
don't know.
second.
Yeah, like crossing
Ban
with
you?
atheists. I don't know. Conspiring. Oh, surely there's something about it.
I don't know. I was mad at the moment, but it's like, I get it, you know. I was stacked. But still, that's crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, hey man, I would also be I wouldn't be mad. I'd just be disappointed.
Yeah, you know what?
You know.
Yeah, you're right. I'm not mad. I'm just disappointed.
It's
That's
like
exactly what I should say.
you know, like when like you just disappoint your mother and she has that very like disappointing, sad look in her eyes that like
Yeah.
you just kind of ruined her high confidence in you as a person. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
basically what that was. I'm like your mother in this case.
Oh, okay. Damn.
Deep down, I've always kind of felt like your mother, Andres.
Wait a sec. What do you mean by that? Wait a
You're
second.
close to my mom.
Hey. Wait, why do you speak Spanish? Or how do you speak? Wait, what? Since when?
I've always spoken a little bit of Espanol, if you get my drift.
Ooh, okay, okay,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
That's clean.
Okay. Valid as hell. Okay. Oh my god.
Is it me or is this lobby lagging a little bit? Or is that hold on, ping? I'm at 33 ms, but the lobby's lagging like crazy. What?
I'm at 75 ms. The hell?
I'm at 41.
Okay, like
Oh, that's weird.
yeah.
Damn, I guess
hate
you just suck.
I
Got
just hate West Coast ping, bro.
yeah.
I love how the Rapture in the chat like Red's one of us. Wait, the Rapture, you're Latino? What?
Yeah,
What do you mean?
Rapture's Hispanic.
What?
Yeah, he's a Hispanic Australian. It's crazy. You barely see him
That
nowadays.
That is insane.
Yeah.
Hispanic and Australian.
Yeah.
Wait, the Rapture, I thought. Okay, hold on. I got a
I'm
mind.
pretty sure he's also Japanese. Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say he never told me he was Hispanic. He told me he was Japanese. Like okay, well, you know what? Cool. Hispanic Japanese that lives in Australia. That is
That's
yeah,
crazy, right?
that
No,
is
I'm sorry.
quite
I'm
the melting
specifically sorry you live in Australia. That is just an L.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
What do you
I
mean?
pot. No,
don't
hold on,
hate
hold on. I will say they got these things called Tim Tams or Tam Tims in Australia.
Oh.
They are very good. They
Like
are
Kit
superb.
Kats.
All right. No, they're not like.
What was
Kit
that
Kats,
little
they're better.
voice that I just
They're
heard?
better.
Whoa,
Oh.
there's like 2 things here. All right, I'm going in.
What are you
I'm
going
going
for?
for 3.
I'm going for tilted treetops.
Okay, I'm going to Haunted Mansion.
Copy that, Ghost Rider. Hold on, wait. The
Yeah.
mod is on our side.
Yeah.
I'm
Wait,
here.
does this mean we could have staff abuse and nobody will complain, right? Right.
Of course.
Maybe.
Admin
Surely.
abuse? Question mark. Please be on our be on our side. Favor us, God.
If I had op, I'd just Genis and full diamond and we'd be chilling,
Wait.
right?
That's actually smart.
Yeah.
You should probably
I mean,
do it.
smart for you two. I don't know if it'd be
What
smart
would I
for
do?
myself.
Hmm.
If I just gave us all full diamond. If I just slash killed everybody.
Oh
besides
wait,
us
Azu,
three.
I completely forgot you're in the call. My bad.
Oh, that's crazy.
My bad. I was like, yo, wait, what are the odds, man? We got the staff on our side.
Hmm.
Hmm.
Oh, you actually didn't know that? It was,
No, I was
oh.
look, man. I was working on my video. I've been blanking out. I just woke up from a nap. And my brain capacity is kind of all over the place. All right.
Yeah, same here. I haven't slept all day. Or yesterday. It's bad.
Yeah,
it's
but
bad.
the difference is you actually
How much-
play the game. Like I just
That's
sit
true.
there thinking about the Roman Empire or something. I don't know.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
The Roman Empire is
respect it.
crazy.
true. I'm also a big fan of Warhammer.
Warhammer.
Yeah.
Is this like a hashtag ad or something?
What?
Is like a hashtag ad, you know, like
Hashtag ad.
Warhammer is
mean-
a free-to-play mobile
Oh.
game. What's
No,
Warhammer?
it's like what Warhammer? It's like Star Wars. It's like Lord of the Rings. It's like I don't know, like a how do I explain it? It's like a universe. Is that the right terminology? What do you give to like say like I don't even know what the right terminology is. Shut up. I don't
so
like
much
this
chat said
anymore.
tabletop
No, but
RPG.
yeah, but it isn't just a tabletop game. It's like books, it's movies, it's games, it's video games.
It's all of the above.
Oh.
Yeah, it's like kind of what Star Wars is in some extent, but like,
So like Marvel Cinematic Universe.
it's like one of those in a
Multiverse.
sense. I'd say it's a lot nerdier. No, it's not a multiverse. It's just one universe.
Drapped you, you're wrong. You're canceled, Drapped you.
Yeah.
Womp womp.
The Ramsey strikes me as someone that would get canceled. Actually, no. Someone that strikes me as getting canceled is Booster.
Oh yeah.
That man is just something else.
The booster is yikes, you know?
It's so true. Big thanks.
You should actually convince him to go to VidCon this upcoming year.
I should convince him. I don't think he'd listen to me. He hates
I think
my
he will.
ass.
No, he does not hate your ass.
He hates me.
No, he secretly loves you.
No, he hates me so much. Do you remember how he spoke to me, Andres? That
Yeah,
is
that was
not
actually shitty.
words out of love. Yeah. If anything, that could be an abusive relationship, which I want nothing to be a part of.
Oh my.
Yeah,
Are you sure though?
I'm not. Listen, man, if there's one thing I've learned, it is that you should not stay in abusive relationships, all right? You gotta get away from them.
True.
You gotta hide. You gotta run.
Speak your shit.
Feel me?
Okay, pop off.
Pop
Yeah.
off.
I am slaying and popping off so hard.
This is
All
my
right.
streamer.
I got another wart, but it's also Bastion, but it's also oh god. Okay, I gotta focus up.
Oh, you're
You got
another?
this.
Yeah, I'm another already.
I have 7 diamonds on me, by the way.
Okay.
I have gold. I don't know. That's like how I'm contributing to the team.
Hey,
maybe.
I don't have gold. You're
Oh,
contributing.
well, there you go. Well, I was planning on keeping the gold for myself. I only have 8, but
Oh.
I'm contributing.
Andre surely gets a lot of gold, right?
Oh
Yeah,
yeah, surely. Yeah, surely.
Surely.
Oh yeah, I can get a lot of gold. I'm
Maybe I
not
can get like a diamond or 2.
Oh yeah.
You're in the Sebastian, surely.
The what?
The Sebastian.
The Sebastian.
That was a
What the
Sebastian.
frick?
Is it the Bastion?
Yeah, the Bastion.
The Sebastian.
I'm not liking these code words, but you know.
No, I'm
Yeah.
liking it.
Come on. You've never
Sebastian.
called a Bastion just Sebastian, like Seabat?
Izzy, I gotta ask, right?
What's up?
Yes.
You have influence on the inside, right? With HOPLITE.
Sure.
You're like one of the higher ups. Surely you have influence that has weight somewhere. So like, can we make SG a thing next? Is that something?
Survival
we can get?
games.
Yeah, that
Honestly,
like a Sky Wars.
Like
Survival games are
survival
pretty
games
fun.
or like Sky Wars with like legendary
That-
weapons would be
dude,
dope.
Yeah. No, I'm just saying, man. We haven't had like a proper like Sky Wars game. Like, I really think that MCCI is kind of falling behind with like,
It is.
because like not in like a super like, oh, it's a lost cause. It's just I feel like they're making certain like small mistakes, like not having solo Sky Battle.
Mhm.
Like I feel like that's a huge mistake on their behalf. Like I've been
Yeah.
arguing about this for like months at this point. Like, how can they expect content creators to make content if there's no solo mode? And there's a bunch of other stuff too. But like one thing I also argued for was like, I feel like games need to have like a certain progression to them, which HOPLITE kind of is. It's minuscule progression, but there is progression.
Yeah, I
Um,
feel it. All right. Well, I'll say this.
Yeah.
This is public information, but Silver tweeted out if people would be interested in Bed Wars or like Sky Wars on
Not
HOPLITE.
Bed Wars. Not Bed Wars.
Yeah, we-
Not Bed
Please.
Wars.
We already
Anything
saw
but that.
Yeah.
No, I can't stand Bed Wars. We
mean,
already had like
yikes.
freaking Tubnet
Yeah.
Crystal Rush. Please,
Yeah.
not again.
I mean,
We need Sky Wars back. It's been too long. I don't count Sky Battle Sky Wars. It doesn't live up to
it
the
doesn't
hype of
live
the
up
past.
to the. Okay.
The only way I could see Bed Wars work again is if they were to like do like how Roblox Bed Wars works. And I'm not even like joking about that. I'm being serious. Roblox
Wait,
Bed
Roblox
Wars
Bed
is
Wars?
actually
I've never heard of.
Oh, you don't know
Roblox
about
Bed
this?
Wars.
No.
okay.
I heard of
Okay.
Fortnite Bed Wars.
No. Okay, so basically how Roblox Bed Wars works. Do you know how Sky Wars and Hypixel had like all the kits and progression
Yeah.
system with like perks?
Mhm.
Imagine that, but Bed Wars.
Oh.
Interesting.
And then like even like elements like the bosses could spawn mid game or there could be random events that happen.
Wait, what?
It's Roblox Bed Wars averages about 40 to 60,000 concurrent players.
Jesus.
Oh my
It
god,
is
wait,
it
that
is
sounded like a
destroying
cook.
the Minecraft community, man. Bro literally copied and pasted the Hypixel Bed Wars code, made some small changes, and it made $1 billion. It's insane.
$1 billion. Billion
Okay,
to blue.
maybe a few million, but I mean that's
Okay,
still a lot of
yeah.
Oh
money.
my god.
For like a Minecraft content creator, that's still a lot of money, all right?
Oh yeah.
More money than I'll probably see in my lifetime, unfortunately. Actually, that's wrong. I could take some Raid Shadow Legends deals, but
There you go.
I
That's
would never
what we
take
like
another
to
Raid
hear.
Shadow Legends ad. I'll tell you that much. Actually,
Red
I lied, I
back
would.
at it again, becoming analytical. No, I'm being logical. I feel like all I'm saying makes a lot of sense here. All right.
Yeah,
like-
yeah, you are making a lot
I'm
of
just
sense.
very zealous about my beliefs in that, Hoplite needs to take charge, man. Become the minigame,
The minigame
server.
server.
yeah, of the 1.20. Like, and they have a chance now against MCCI because MCCI needs to catch up. They got a bit of work ahead of them.
Yeah, that's
I'm
true.
just saying, man. I'm just saying.
Hmm.
Now,
I mean, for the
Go on.
game wise, I don't have much input. Like I don't
think
know what.
you need to get a
Put your
raise
foot down.
and give input. Yeah, I think you need to basically roll into the devs group chat and be like, I am the captain now. This is
I am the captain
my
now.
dev team. SG is becoming a thing.
Take
It's
over.
official. Yeah.
Take over Speed Silver's position.
Listen,
Now.
form a coup d'etat. It's gonna be a hostile takeover. It'll be fine.
Former
Hostile
union.
take-
Yeah, no, not a union. No. We hate unions. But besides that, I'm sure that the community will rally behind your cause if you promise them SG.
Yeah.
Yeah, Loki.
I'm sure.
Action
I'm
cooking,
sure
though.
people will die on that battle.
Vote for Azuf.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah,
I'm telling you,
that's
man.
Hoplite
crazy.
election. Hoplite election.
I don't know. I'm just a huge fan of SG. All right. It came to a point where I had to play Bedrock to quench my SG thirst.
Oh my gosh, really?
Yeah, actually, the Hive is actually very fun.
I was gonna
I'll be
say,
real.
did you play? I played
Yeah.
the Hive on
Jesus
controller.
Christ, guys.
That
You know
was
what I
I'm
great.
played?
serious. The Hive is a lot of fun.
Wait, were you
people
guys Huawei
underestimate it.
enjoyers?
Oh my god, I love Hui.
I like Evident
know-
P and Danny is the bomb. Those are my Bedrock ambassadors.
You're not to brag. Wait, so do you know who Huawei is? Huawei is?
No,
Ouch. That hurt.
I'm sorry.
Wait, you serious? Wait, when did you start creating content? When did you start watching Minecraft? Don't say,
2011.
Wait, really?
Wait, actually?
Yeah, I've been watching. Dude, I'm 21. I've been watching since the very beginning. All right.
Yeah,
Huh.
let's give him another old name.
D Field Mark.
Exnestorio.
Oh.
Actually, you probably know who he is. He's not that old.
Exhistoria, I know. That's
Okay,
just.
yeah.
Yeah, Nestor's still around. He does content.
Yeah, he's,
Yeah,
he
that
does
man still exists. He hasn't left.
Damn.
I have surprisingly a lot of gold for being in the overworld. I got 22 plus 2 gaps already.
Oh my
Okay.
gosh. I have enchant sword and 7 spare diamonds. So
Okay, yeah, I already
I-
need 2 diamonds from you.
Should
Yeah,
should I get the obby then?
no, I already made the table.
Oh,
What?
Okay.
Yeah.
You
I got like
it-
20
it-
books
it
from
fucking
the
snap
from the
rooms, man. I'm telling you, there's a bit of admin abuse going on.
well admin abuse.
And I'm all for
I'm
it.
telling you.
I mean, what? What the?
You're all for it.
Wait, what?
What the? I'm
Okay,
not all
so
for
let me
it.
get this straight. You're
Qndres, if I get-
anti-cross demon, but you're
If I get
for.
banned, you're gonna
that-
get that benefiting ban.
Whoa,
It's
whoa, whoa,
crazy.
whoa, 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 whoa,
I
whoa. Never mind. I'm not all for it.
know.
Never mind. Yo,
Get out
yo.
of court. There you go. There you go.
Yo, Inferno, yo. I'm not with this guy. I don't know who this is. We just got randomly teamed and added into the call.
Yeah.
See, I'm just saying that the chat is all for SG, man. They are taking my
Yep,
side. Maybe
yep,
I
yep.
should run for Hoplite president. Maybe I should take over.
I
You
think
should.
you have more pull. You have like what? How many followers do you have on everywhere? Like
I
a
got
lot?
5.
You got you got at least 5.
5.
Okay.
Five's nice.
Yeah,
Five's a good
five's
amount.
solid
Hey, look,
amount.
you-
It's like a.
That-
Hey, Loki.
I feel like it's like a humbling amount,
It is a humbling amount. So that is 5 voters for you right there, because they're
Oh,
gonna
look
take
at
your
that.
side.
And how many are on the board of directors for Hoplite? Is there even a board of
all-
directors?
I don't think there is.
Oh, well, that's a bit awkward.
At least 5 of those guys are on the directors team. Surely.
You're saying 5 of my fans are on the board of directors?
Yeah, they got pull.
You know what? I believe it.
They could take my job any day, and I don't. It's not a job. I don't get paid, but volunteering. They could
Volunteer
take
work,
my
W.
yeah, exactly. They could take away everything that I owe. They could take my
They can
college
take your
dorm
bank
away.
account.
Yeah, they could take my
Wait,
funny
what?
numbers on the back of my
They
card.
can take your wife and kids.
Oh, damn. Okay, so we're doing that now.
Yeah.
Okay. All for just
What?
the. Okay.
Listen, man, we said hostile takeover, didn't we?
Okay. Wow. Guess I'll just.
Andres, you got to side with us here, man. You can't back down now.
I'm scared.
No, don't be.
No, why are you scared?
All right,
Also,
I'm not
I got a
scared.
diamond sword, guys. I did it.
You got a diamond sword?
Nice.
Okay.
I did it.
I'm coming
So
up.
I'm giving 2 to you, Andres,
Yeah.
right?
I have 11
then,
gold blocks, so I'm just gonna get a bunch of apples right now. I also
Wow.
have 14
Rich.
nether wart, by the way. If you wanna somehow,
Do you want to make a? Do you have gunpowder?
I have 13 gunpowder, 12 gunpowder.
You want to get some glass so you can make a little reactor core?
Yeah, I'm down. Do you have
People
redstone?
actually make those.
I actually do not have redstone on me. That's crazy.
Damn. Also, there might be a katana this game because I didn't loot the chest. I looted the gold.
Oh.
Yeah. Noob mistake. Noob mistake. Noob. I know.
Noob.
That was disappointing.
All right, I'm heading up. I made diamond boots because I got
Yeah,
diamonds.
I did get diamonds. I got 2.
Not 1, but 2.
Well, technically, I got 2 plus a diamond sword worth.
Okay.
So 4. That's how math works.
Actually, do you have? Wait, how many do you have spare?
2.
If I could get one, I have amethyst. We can make Artemis too, because you have the gunpowder.
Ooh, we can make that.
All right, I will contribute a diamond to the cause.
The cause.
To the cause.
All right, I'm gonna. Who are we going to?
Wait, you have diamond sword and 2, or do you have 2? Red.
What?
You said. I said, do you have 2, or do you have like 4?
Where'd you
Diamonds.
get 4 from?
Am I dumb?
What is going on with you today?
I don't know. I'm thinking.
First, you accuse floatives of
tired.
hacking,
Okay. 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 Yeah, accusing is crazy, but go on.
and now you
pop off.
accuse me of having 4 diamonds.
It's
This
not
is just
accusing.
unacceptable.
I thought you had. Okay.
Yeah,
Sorry.
this is kind of weird,
No,
Andres.
no,
Like,
I have a diamond sword, and I got 2 diamonds.
So you had 4, but you minus 2, so you have a diamond sword and 2.
I never had 4 because before I got the second 2, I already crafted the sword.
Oh, gotcha. But so you've
I
had
never
a total
had
of 4
4.
diamonds. You've had
No,
a total.
I've had a total of 2 at any given moment.
Right. So you made diamond sword, and then you had 2 extra
Yeah.
after you found them. After you found
Yeah.
All right. I understand.
You
now.
know what? I think I'm gonna double down on the Azu for president real quick and go for Azu.
there we go.
Also, there's
I
like a
voted for
dude
him.
next to me, Azuf. I need your financial support. Where are you at?
I'm next to Andres right now, but I could run to you real quick. I don't
Oh,
have
this
any
is funny.
healing
There's like a guy
crafted.
between us. It's fine. I'll come over.
Pass me diamonds,
Okay.
Yusuf. And vote me king. Vote me king. Quick.
I
quick.
did.
Okay.
Enchants are there for you as well.
I see you. I'm coming over.
Hey,
Hello.
is that guy still there?
I don't know. He was over there in the plains.
Ah.
Oh wait, did I even get my books? Oh, they
Shit.
dropped on the ground. What is this? Okay, I will.
Do you have a book
I'll
extra?
pick 'em up.
Yusuf.
Yeah, here's like 4. Oh, you missed some. Nice.
Andres, how does it feel to be a
Huh?
pescatarian?
Wait. How'd you know I'm pescatarian?
I had a gut feeling.
There's
Oh,
a couple
pescatarian.
books there for you, Red.
No. I insist.
I actually wanted to go pescatarian for the longest time.
That's just disappointing.
What do you mean? I love fish.
Yeah, but like resisting meat, that's just cringe. Hey, did you want that diamond?
Yeah, I'll take the diamond. And can I get
Some gold?
5 gunpowder?
1, 2,
I
3,
also
4,
need gold.
5.
I don't have any
Eat some gold.
thingies.
I just have some gold. I need food.
yeah.
Fudge.
Here, bread.
right here.
Hold on. Can you one of y'all see if you guys got a Prot 1 enchant in this? Because I'm not getting Prot 1 or anything.
I don't have levels, but I need to get
bottles.
No.
Yeah, I'm
Okay,
gonna go look for
it's fine,
sand
it's
real
fine.
quick, and then we
Wait, don't leave me. I still got to enchant.
You're good. You're good. I'm here. Yeah, Azu stick right there. I'm gonna get sand.
Andres, hold my
Oh, yeah.
hand.
What?
I'll hold your hand.
Stinky.
I'm scared.
There we go.
Thank you for actually holding my hand. I appreciate that.
You're so welcome.
See, this is like good moderating support right
Yeah.
here. This is
True. Well, you deserve a raise.
yeah,
I know.
this is what good staff looks like. Holds your hand when you're in distress.
Holding your hand when you're enchanting.
Yeah.
Hey, I got my friends. It's all good.
Let's go. Hold on. Let's see if I can
Dude, you
get that
should
book for
wait.
sharpness.
Wait, you should take Qndres this clown hat. There you go.
Oh, I should take on just his clown hat.
Yeah, only
Put it on.
clowns wear
Oh.
that.
Andres, I got a clown hat now.
You're a clown. Wait, are you?
Clown
I'm not gonna
Pierce?
say it. Yep. Oh, you said it.
Clown Pierce?
Oh, there's people right in front of us.
Wait, I
Hey.
didn't finish the sharp book. Wait, there's no sharp here.
I don't have
uh,
healing crafted.
Why is there
so-
no sharp? What is this? Help!
I'll
Help!
just, like,
Okay,
You got
it's
this.
fine. I'll just pick up the stuff. I'll pick up the
Bet,
stuff.
There's 4 other people. Let's probably run.
You have
But
art.
I
You have
haven't
Artemis.
finished.
Wait, wait, low key.
Do we
You
want
know
to?
what?
I'm just.
I-
I'm just.
Oh,
I
gonna
don't
go
have. I don't
sharp
have.
here.
Yeah,
I don't
we're
have healing crafted. I think we should craft healing first
Bet,
before we do
bet.
anything.
All right. I'll be
Let's
running.
run. Let's run to try to find like a sand place.
Go fall in a cave.
I'm just gonna kind of snag their arrows too. They're still
Ow.
chasing. There's a
Yeah,
chance we
chasing.
might want to have to fight.
Well, you can just run 0-0.
Andres,
Hi.
they hurt me.
I'll tank for you. I'll tank for you. I'll tank for you. I'm like the
Thank you.
Overwatch tank.
Where's Doozen when we need him?
I'm gonna go shear for apples.
my God,
while
that's
you guys
how-
just kinda, like, look them up.
What the frick?
It's the Artemis. And I shot
Ow.
you too. Jesus. They're still chasing.
That
you. Just
hurts.
give her this way. What's your healing, by the way? You need healing?
No, I got healing. I just don't want to use it.
Okay.
I cannot.
Oh,
Okay,
we're in
they're-
that one
they're
inconvenient time that I
backing
hate.
off. They're backing off.
Backing up at.
Yeah.
I wouldn't
we're
mind
in
it.
that-
We're in the swamp.
Yeah, swamp.
Yeah, I'm near the mangrove trees.
Weeks.
What's your healing? Red?
Please.
I got 5 gaps.
Bet. What about you, Zoof?
I need to make my gap still. So 0 right now. That's
Hold
what
on,
I'm
I
doing.
should probably You know what I should do? I should get some glass.
I have glass for you. Here you go. I'm already ahead. 2 steps
You
ahead
know what I
of
should do? I should get some glass.
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 you. Should we make pots or nah?
Are
do
we
you-
able
do you
to?
have-
Have
do you
the
have
wort?
wort?
Yeah, I have gunpowder still. Should we say fuck it and make it?
We could.
You have redstone?
I don't have redstone.
I don't.
no.
My bad.
Okay, that's fine.
Well, you think because I'm red I'd have redstone?
I mean, you said it, not me.
Dang. I don't know how I feel about that.
What are your thoughts on
That's
juice
a
roll?
little. No, that is a crazy convo switcher right there.
Yeah, I wanted to.
Hold
There's a
on.
combo.
You want to
somehow.
break? You wanted to break the ice a little bit.
Yep.
There you go.
Hold on, let me make a Pro 2 real quick.
I'm still getting apples. I'm not getting like any, and I've mined like 3 stacks of leaves.
Yikes.
And
We can Loki drop someone. You come to us.
yeah,
Should we drop someone?
Yeah, we could probably drop someone. Let's see.
we could probably. do.
Okay. What is a nice conversational topic to have while we drop someone?
is your- Favorite color?
Sky
ooh,
blue.
green.
I mean, okay. Well,
Just kidding.
I don't know how. Yeah, how are you guys telling how are you guys lying to me right now? Why would you?
What?
Yeah, green's my least favorite color. I hate the color green.
No, but I like sky blue.
Okay. Is that cap or?
No, I'm being serious. I love that color. That's my favorite color.
That's actually your favorite color.
Yeah, no, I'm being serious.
Wait.
Okay.
I could not
Bros
tell if
dying
you're
for no
lying.
reason? Yeah, okay.
Yeah, like what?
No,
Bro's name
guys,
is
I'm being
Reduce?
serious.
Okay.
Yeah, but just because I'm red doesn't mean I need to like the color red.
True. It's like true.
No, that's true. You know what?
Yeah,
We should let
Anyways.
everybody like what they like.
exactly. I feel like there's an underlying, theme point here.
Yeah, like an
Moral of the
underlying
story.
message.
Yeah.
Do you like chicken wings?
Yeah, of course.
Okay, good.
Yeah. I also like chicken tenders.
Oh,
Just could you ask me if I like chicken wings?
I mean, I guess. Do you like chicken wings, Seizu?
Dude, I love chicken wings. Thank you so much for asking.
You know
It
what?
means a
After
lot.
this game, after this stream, I'm gonna go get some Wingstop. Wingstop.
Ooh.
Ooh, I'm
Feels
getting
like-
cafeteria food. Let's go.
Wait,
Oh,
W.
Ooh, hype. Hey, there's some cobweb to the left. I'm assuming. Actually, is that no, never mind. That's a mine shaft.
Can you guys
Oh.
wait for me for like a second? I'm like right behind you all.
Hey, Zoof, come on. We don't got all day. Come on, hey, Zoof.
Say, Zuv, you're kind of slacking right now. Kind of like, you know.
Hey,
Hold
one of our
on.
teammates died, I think.
Yeah, our team are trying.
Oh wait, no,
Dying.
wait. That's the other color, is it?
All right, can you place down an enchant?
Oh,
I
that's
know
green.
I'm taking my sweet time right now, but I'm doing
Dang,
something
green just got
important.
demolished by red.
Yo, Q, Dream,
He has that
SMP.
feathers?
Thank you for the follow.
I do,
Hi, Q, DM,
but I don't have
hello.
arrows.
Welcome to the
Oh
stream.
wait, hold on. I can make arrows. What am I doing?
Okay, I need feathers for Artemis.
Hold on. How
Probably
many
get some over
feathers
here.
do you need?
There's people over here.
No, I'm saying we can
How many-
get feathers from the like jungle
Oh,
parrots.
yeah.
How many
like
feathers
the
do you
Oh,
need?
parrot.
there's
I
corn
got
on the
two.
floor.
I need at least 4.
I can give
There's a
you
house
2.
right. There's people. Should we kill them? They're making a house.
Yes, do it.
Yes. It's 100% a trap. There's no way it's not.
Yeah. Be careful what
I don't
they.
know. That seems pretty.
I don't-
pretty.
I don't think it's a trap.
I don't think it's a trap, man. I
You
think
don't
they're
think it's
just
a
making.
trap?
No, I think
Should we
they're
talk
just.
to them? Oh wait,
Hey,
they're on
what's-
BC.
Wait, what is that building over there? I've never seen that before.
It's
It
a
has to
trap.
be a
It's a trap. It's a trap. It's a trap. They placed down a pressure plate.
Hello.
Wait,
we
I'm
just
gonna
paranoid?
dig down.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
you know, it's a trap. Oh my god, it's a trap. Yo. This is evil.
No, they freaking.
I don't know how much of a trap it is. Wait, one just walked out.
Careful. Red's in
Wait,
there.
Red, be careful. Red. Be careful. They're definitely trying to trap you.
No, they would never trap me. They're too kind.
Dude.
I got one.
Yeah, you're too
I got
kind.
him. I did
Oh
it.
my god, look at that.
I have a flame book.
What?
What is it?
Flame book.
Oh, I got
actually?
redstone.
Yeah. Wait, can you put that on Artemis?
Yeah, he can.
Oh well, there you go. I made a G head, by the way.
Hold on, let me see that trap. Where is it? Ah, would you look at that?
It's crazy
Also,
trap, right?
I'd like to let you know that they called us
atomics?
bad, I think. Wait, no,
What?
they didn't. It was the same team, but
Guy
different
here,
people.
guy here. Bull iron.
What?
Gala donut. Uh-oh, he is in. Uh-oh, that's not good.
Oh, poor guy.
Oh,
Oh, maybe he has a
Oh.
both. Oh wait, he has an emerald sword. Be careful. Might be like really good.
no, it's not.
Oh,
Just
I'm bad.
My
I'm stuck. Oh my gosh, this is really annoying. Oh, he's just spam clicking. Wait. Hey, there we go.
I did it, guys.
is that you?
I see it. I got it.
Got it. Oh, it's a sharp one.
Sharp
Oh,
two.
apples. Oh, dude, I hate this. Okay, I have 10 gaps.
I got
Five,
4
six,
diamonds.
5, 7.
I have
Okay.
4 gaps. Can I have 1
you
or
want
2 gaps? Thank you.
There you go.
Yeah, honestly, this emerald sword's kind of just bad. It's only sharp 2, so I'm gonna leave it.
Wait, no, I want that.
You want it? Go
I
right
want it. I
ahead.
call dibs. Let's go.
Go.
Wait, do you
Alright.
want my diamond 2 or no, sharp 2 diamond sword?
I already have a sharp 3. I'm fine.
Oh,
I'm gonna make
fine.
Another
Okay,
G
then don't
head,
take
and then
it.
I'll make more healing. Nice. I'm back
Okay,
at 10 gaps again.
Hype.
Nice. I'm at 7 gaps, no heads.
I'm
Okay.
at 7 gaps, 1 head.
Let's
Yeah,
go
wait.
find some parrots.
For a second, I
People
thought you were
here.
gonna say parents.
Two people over here.
Again?
3
Oh
people,
my
4
gosh.
people. Run.
Oh,
Oh.
yeah.
Wait,
Alright.
unless they're not teamed. Wait.
Hold on.
Are they?
No, they're not teamed. They're just chasing
Oh.
someone. They're chasing someone. Are they? I can't tell.
I mean, there's 3 of us. Surely we could take a 3.
Oh no, it's yeah. I think we can. I think they're.
Let's do it.
I feel like we are strong enough to take a maybe not actually.
We got this. Sharp 3 diamonds.
I
Look, there's one here.
opened up
Yeah, we got this. Are
something.
you with us, Asuf?
Yeah, I'm right behind you. They're not aware.
I'm gonna
Okay.
create the F ones.
Got one.
Yeah, they're spam kicking. I don't think they know what's good.
Oh, hold on, I got him.
Got one.
Got another.
I may or may not be in the snow.
You good?
He's spam clicking red.
Oh, the guy's knockback.
I can't, dude.
Let's- I'll let you guys get the kill. I'm gonna loot. Yeah,
Get
this
everything.
Patterson's so annoying.
I'm trying. He's like just standing in the snow, man. He's annoying. Hey, can you like stop? Okay, there we go.
Can you like stop?
There you go.
Please stop.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thank
That
you.
was being very annoying.
Where the boots at? Nah. That's
know.
wild.
What?
Oh, it's right here. Never mind. I'm dumb. I thought you took them from me, but you just had your own boots.
I already have my boots. Did you there's feathers. Oh my gosh.
Crosswalker book.
Oh, I got feathers as well, by the way.
I need one more feather. And
I
then
got
have...
feathers here. Come with me.
I'm right here. I'm right here. Oh, Patterson.
Here, someone can make a G head, low key.
Let's go.
I just need gold.
What am I missing? I think I have everything. Oh, there we go.
Sharp one.
Oh my goodness. I just need arrows. I actually don't have any arrows. That's crazy.
There's a pearl down there.
Did you guys pick up arrows?
Pearl. No. Yes, I did.
Give me.
I just tossed them on red. Whoopsies.
I got them all.
Okay.
Got
Here,
him.
someone take this head and make a G head.
I actually already have my own G heads, and I can make another one. So I'll just do.
I made a
Yeah.
G head.
I have 12 gaps.
I think
Hold on. Did I not pick up the diamond sword over here? I did not.
this is indeed red.
Wait. Oh, wait. Give me the flame bow.
Yep.
Or
Flame book, you mean? Nope, that's the flame
Yeah.
book. That's the flame book right there.
That's the great flame book.
Okay.
Flame book. Flame book.
Flame book. W flame book.
Flame book.
Hold on. If I put down the anvil, I
Yes.
can shop one, shop one, shop two,
Oh
shop
my
two.
gosh.
Wait,
My
no,
boots
shop
are
two.
still unenchanted. Can you guys place on enchants real quick?
Sharp 3.
I don't have
it.
enchants.
3.
Oh, I can.
Let's go.
There you go.
My boots are still enchanted. I
Does
didn't
anyone have-
realize.
You don't have piss?
What?
Huh?
Like lapis?
Oh, okay. I thought you said something else. guess
I
my
do
ears
have
are
some,
playing
but I'm
games with me.
reluctant to give you some after how you asked.
Okay. Thank you.
I'll give him some.
Gracias.
I thought he said something else. I think my ears are just playing
Hold on.
games.
Can you give me
right
like 2 levels real quick?
now. 2 levels.
That's all I have.
One more.
That's all
No.
I have. Here, take
Okay,
this.
I-
3.
Here, I can make some.
I've already maxed out on XP.
You need
I think.
4?
I think so.
All right, how many levels?
I just need 1 in the sense of getting to 4. 1 more. Oh, wait, I didn't get any there. Thank you.
There we go.
Perfect.
I still have a pearl as well. Okay, I'm tripping. I'm chilling.
I have 12 gaps, 2 G heads. I have Sharp 3, Power 3 Flame, Artemis. Ooh.
I see our
A
teammates.
teammate. Yeah, teammates here. Oh, I just felt him. Uh-oh.
Yep.
Okay, I'm fine.
Waiting for it.
Yo, look at him. Wado.
Look at him. Look at me. Look at him. Look at me. Look at him. He's a good shoe. Okay.
Wado.
Oh,
Where
is
is
this
it?
okay? So basically, this is our surviving teammate. I see.
Yep. He's the straggling one that came out.
He's
nowhere.
a lone wolf. Wolf.
Can we keep him?
Can we keep him?
We
Can
can.
we keep him?
An idea. Wait.
What are you trying to do?
Damn it. I wanted to case him in.
That's a little illegal, I think, actually.
Wait, he doesn't even have
No.
enchants. What?
All right, it's fine. Let him be the tank now.
Watto, you're gonna let Watto be the tank with no enchants?
Yeah, of course.
Dang. I mean, you have a lot of confidence in Watto.
What are your thoughts on Travis Scott, Red?
Don't listen to him.
No.
My bad.
I like
What
I like
about-
how your conversation switchers are just 2 different like artists.
Yeah, I know.
You did Juice WRLD, not Travis Scott. What else? What else you got cooking?
Oh, I'm
Oh,
gonna go to
Wait,
that.
hold on.
From where though?
No,
Matters.
that was Watto. Watto shot. That's
Watto shot. He's
Waldo
angry.
was very mad at us.
yeah.
5
Aw.
minutes.
Low stars is that team is gonna be really hard to kill. I think we got this though. I think we got this.
All right, we got
I
it.
am
Really good.
confident.
I am strong. I'm confident.
Oh,
Okay.
a person in front of me.
Oh, person. I see them. They look
Please
like a
have
lone
diamonds.
wolf.
Oh, with
They
the
have a
horse. But you have Artemis, right? You do, and you shot. Then you killed the horse.
Oh, nice.
Let's get
Lucky
another one
shot,
of
I
those.
guess.
Wait, let's get another shot. One of those. Yeah, keep shooting, keep shooting, keep shooting, keep shooting. Oh my god. W shot.
He's at 10. That guy's like dead.
Shot. Oh my god, there he goes. He's one more time. One more time. You got this. Oh, nice shot.
2. Oh,
Got him.
that one also homed.
Oh, he had emeralds.
There's another guy over
Oh,
here.
team 2 left. Team 2 left.
Big team, big team. Oh yeah,
No, just
yeah.
one
You go
person.
for him. Nice shot.
That guy's at 42. He's at Batman movie.
He has no.
Crazy
He has no water. No
It's a
bev. No bev.
37.
No bev. No bev.
Wait, you picked up the emeralds, right?
No, I left them back. Oh
No.
Oh,
yeah,
wait,
those hammer
that's a, yeah,
and
Mjolnir.
scythe.
I'm gonna go to the body real quick. Just get
Oh,
the
that's a whole
emeralds.
5 team.
Yeah, it's a mushroom team.
Oh, they're getting chased though by another team behind them.
Oh my, yeah, what the hell?
And they're all full iron. So we actually wait. Are they fighting right now?
Wait, I can make some arrows. I didn't realize I can. Okay. I like
Yeah,
a
there's
stack of
another-
arrows. I'm rich.
Yeah, everyone has Artemis apparently.
Dang.
Game.
They're gonna fight. I think
Filled
they're gonna
Artemis.
fight. Now they're getting sandwiched. Now we're behind them.
Yep.
I have no arrows. Shit.
I have arrows.
Keep bowing him. Let's not get too close though.
Yeah.
I'm gonna try to cut this guy off. I'm gonna go straight and just cut this guy off right here.
Yeah, I'm coming. I'm coming. They're not. It looks like they're just going for our other teammate.
Wait, this guy's on 9. Can you bow this guy? I'm kidding right now. No, 6.
I home to the other guy.
He's on like literally 1 HP. Nice.
Got him.
Nice.
Drop 1 diamond. Ow. He has I can't even pronounce that.
Mjolnir.
Ow. Okay, behind us now.
Wait, that
look.
guy had the Mjolnir?
Yeah, that guy right there that's running away. But Loki, I think we fight this
Oh.
team over here. They have like diamond pieces for us, and we can like Loki
That's-
drop them, and
True.
Yeah,
Yeah, let's do it.
games.
it's like
Yeah, how many do you
3v1.
need?
I got 3.
I have 6.
There's 4. I have 7
shoot.
now.
How much you had? Oh my god! Wait, what the fuck? That did a
dang.
lot. Wait, what? My potion
that-
effects?
That was a light. Did somebody Reaper scythe you? What?
Wait, what? I got Reaper Scythe, but I didn't get Reaper Scythe.
We're getting. I got Mjolnired again.
Yeah, from
I don't
behind.
know how
They're
hitting me.
they're coming back. Wait, they're off. That's actually. Wait, what?
I don't know how
If
they
you-
hit me.
if
to be
you-
honest.
okay,
Who do
I
we
think it's
want
a
to go
bug, I
for?
think.
Yeah, there's a Reaper side behind you, by the way.
Oh, yeah, that's a bug then.
Yeah, that is. So he does damage, and he also takes my potion effects.
Okay. I can ban them for using a bug, but
Yeah, Eric's in my chat right now.
Hey, Eric.
Hi, Eric.
Fix your server, right? Meow.
Oh, that's no wonder. I was like, why am I taking 7
Wait.
hearts a hit? What the?
Wait, there's this guy. Wait, this team's like really low.
Oh,
Are
wait,
they?
they are.
Badlands team, yeah.
Oh, what the
Okay.
frick?
Yeah.
Oh,
you
wow,
should-
I just
What-
took like 7 hearts.
Yeah.
That's actually
What?
annoying.
It's
Don't worry. The owner's
Get
on
him, Azoof.
it. Boom, 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 boom.
Get
I
him.
want to keep bowing them.
Yeah, keep going. You got this. Nice. Nice
I guess
shot.
at 28.
Okay, well,
I'm gonna go for the other two because I think these guys are really low.
Oh my god.
26 on Retroblade.
He keeps going behind structures so I can't.
got him.
35.
Artemis.
Nice.
There's power
Just come
3
over here.
Right there. It's right there. Power 3 right there. Want it? Wait, he had potions. What?
Yeah, they
Oh, but-
bots.
It's regen pots. Hey, oh, it's an instant 4.
I need help. I need help. I'm really low.
Where you at?
Right,
After you
right, right.
headed. Oh my god. Wait, what was that knockback? Holy crap. They have like punch or something. I went flying.
I don't have any arrows.
Just do as much damage. That was a good shot.
We look, you got people behind us as well. Like, we gotta keep
Solo's
these guys.
at 9. Deathmatch is now.
Yeah.
Alright.
I got
Um,
some stuff.
All right.
We should. What map? Okay, we should try to go middle. I think we
Bro.
need middle. Okay,
Okay,
if you
yeah.
just want to portal middle, you can.
Yeah, I'll do that.
I'd wait a little bit just so you don't pearl into a tree.
Does someone have the
Yeah,
dragon? Or was that Enderbow?
That was a pearl.
No, I heard someone do like a it's dragon katana.
Okay.
Yeah, stick together. Just be careful.
Ow. Oh shoot, that was damage.
Yeah, that is damage.
Wow.
Is
Here,
this on?
Sheep.
Oh,
Let's
that's not
push these
their
guys
team.
back here, right?
Yeah,
We got the armies.
we need to focus this team. We need to
Oh,
focus
wait.
mushroom.
Are you
They
guys-
have the
Yeah,
second
mushroom
most
team.
players.
Oh,
Oh
that's
my
actually
god, that
annoying.
did like 7 hearts.
Yeah.
Yeah, wait. Surely they're just not bug abusing right now. Surely not.
Oh.
Be careful. You're a little alone right now, Qndres, but you should be fine.
Mjolnir.
I lightning aired him. I don't want to G head because they're just gonna steal my effects.
Yeah. I'm seeing gaps. I see the guy with the. one there.
Oh wait, I'm getting pushed by that team with Dragon Katana for some reason.
Oh, okay, should I see with Andres or who
No,
should I
go
see
for
with?
me. Go for the team of 5, you guys. Come on. Okay, they
Andres,
turned
where
away.
we
I'm
going?
running. I'm running. Go run, Isuf. Wait a second.
Alright.
The guy with Dragon Katana is still going for me.
He's going for
I don't
me
know
now.
why. They're just wasting their TPs
I
though.
don't think you should go for me. There's another stacked person in this lobby, man. I'm not gonna
Wait.
give anything. I'm just gonna run you to border. Come on now.
All right, go red. They're at 14.
I'm trying.
They're 11.
Got 'em.
Nice.
Nice, good stuff. I'm coming back to you guys.
They have gaps. You got them.
We got
Here's
their
some
katana.
dudes. I threw them to the side. Emerald sword. I don't know if you threw that out though. I'm assuming you did.
I threw it out. I got the katana.
Okay, nice. You
I
good, Andre?
sharp 3
yeah.
knockback.
Yo, got any gaps?
Okay. Let's
This
go.
guy's just targeting me though.
It's still a team of 4, team of 2, team of 3. We should focus mushroom.
Oh frick, Reaper side.
Yeah, they're just that's really stupid. There's not much we can really do about it, I don't think.
Oh, and they're just all together right now. Hold on, maybe I can make some more gaps real quick.
Yeah, here I have gold and apples. And, oh my
Oh,
god, can you make
frick.
G-heads?
I cannot, but I gotta make 2 gaps. Okay. Ow, frick!
What you healing?
I got 4 gaps.
Take that. Head.
Thank you.
I'm 1 gap, 1 head right now.
You
I'm
take
just
this.
kinda
I
shooting
just
them
dropped you.
off.
I'm dropping you. Oh, everything's picking up.
Wait, take it.
Right there.
Right
Right there.
Okay, I got it.
We gotta like. I don't even know. Wait, what's
God.
happening? Why are we
I'm
getting?
pretty low?
Yeah,
Yeah, I don't know why they're pushing us. This is
Wait.
interesting.
that's actually annoying. What?
Yeah, that's really game breaking.
Hi, Natalie. It's actually annoying. If you could just steal our effects like that.
You guys have any spare arrows?
Wait,
No,
can they
0.
do with Artemis too?
Are they actually doing with Artemis too? You know what? Low
I think
key,
it's just like with anything on the offhand.
offhand.
Reaper
Yeah.
side.
Yeah. It is. It looks like it because he's just offhanding the damn thing.
Yeah, that's probably
that-
what it is.
Is that bannable or I mean, is it not?
Is Eric in the chat? I don't know.
Yeah, I think maybe.
I
Eric,
want
are you
want
in
his like
chat
opinion.
because they're just abusing it. Yeah, yeah, that is more than just abusing.
Yeah.
Is there a word for more than just abusing?
Ow.
It's like I want to go in and drop one, but they can just like.
What
Yeah,
if we
we
push-
can't.
What if we push mushroom with green? Because it seems like green are avoiding us to push them.
Wait, true. Like we can.
I mean, that'd be
Yeah.
cross teaming. We just gotta be
No,
careful.
we're just avoiding them. Oh wow, I need head. Oh, I am getting dropped.
I got one of them.
Oh wait, I didn't even know that guy was behind me. That's awesome.
Get that. I have a
Is
G
that
31.
13? 13.
32.
Yeah. Oh god, they do so much damage to me. I'm good. You good, Red?
Yeah. Yep.
I'm alive for now, but I got very low there for a moment.
Oh fuck.
Just kill me.
Yeah. Oh,
Ow.
okay. Artemis bow here, if you want it, Red.
I have an Artemis. I
I
just
I got hit again. I'm on 5 hearts. Or like 6 hearts, no heals. Size ahead. Be careful, Red. You're alone.
I just
my
don't
God,
know what to
this
do,
is-
man.
Yeah. They keep hitting me with lightning. I'm on 3.5 hearts. That was bow them, I guess. There's not much I could
Hold
really do
on.
there.
There's one Artemis dude very aggro right now.
Yep.
Oh my
careful.
god, and then they come back to all of them.
And then they're gonna do the thing again.
They're gonna target me because I'm probably gonna die.
Here, take some healing. I have like 3
Yeah,
gaps
yeah.
left.
Yeah, just
Go
drop me
ahead.
one. Thank you. Oh my god. I'm just eating that head, I guess, just so I could get out the gap. This is so annoying. Low starts on 22. Nice. I'm gapping real quick. Wait, going red. Yeah. I'll just survive, but you can drop this one guy.
Yeah.
What's low stars on? Wait, low's 20? Oh, low flex is on 40, but that's the only guy who's high. Behind you, Anders, be careful. You're good. You're gonna 2v1.
Oh,
That man
fuck.
moves you to 5.
No, I'm dead.
It's good. You're good.
8, 3.
I'm dead. I take so much damage.
Yeah,
Oh my
that's-
god. Tragic.
Oh my god.
Yeah,
I hate this so much.
Yeah,
Where's
it's
that
annoying.
person?
Yeah,
I didn't
that's
hear you.
crazy.
I low-key did not even be here. Oh shit, really?
What happened?
Sorry, one of my friends in my room. Hold up.
Okay.
That was
That's
something.
Yeah. Oof.
So that was a glitch, right?
Yeah, that was a glitch. They just glitch abuse.
Oh yeah, I'm back. I gotta go to dinner, but
Okay.
it was fun playing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think I'm gonna take the opportunity of being a bit salty to work on my script a little bit.
Bet. Yeah, I'm gonna end stream. I'm hungry. I haven't eaten all day. But yo, thanks for
Sounds
you
good,
guys.
man. Yeah, it
Thanks.
was
All right.
fun.
Yep. Later, guys. Bye.
Peace out.
Right.
All right, chat. I'm done. Damn, we took our L's today. We got a cross team ban, and we got a bug abuse thing. It's all good. All right. As you can say, yeah, I'm ending stream. I'm hungry, bro. I'm hungry as hell. I'll see you guys later. Congrats for watching the stream. Yeah. Appreciate it, guys. I'm gonna raid Kyle F. He is truly streaming.
Kyle F is
HOPLITE.
not holding me hostage.
All right.
I'm here willingly.
Bye, everyone. Thanks for watching the stream. See you guys tomorrow. I'm streaming every day.